in everyone. Let me tell you, disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another BDA Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your friends, the BDA, flying solo for the moment. Pucho's not here, but I'm pretty sure more people are going to drop by as the hour goes by. Guys, thank you for joining us. Tonight on this episode, we are going to be talking about the supposed Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia fight that is being talked about for the fall 2020. Hopefully that happens. I don't know if there's going to be people in there or not watching that fight. We are going to have to see. For the moment, we got that. We also got Lomachenko-Lopez, which supposedly is set to be set. Of course, set to be set. They're saying it's going to happen. Lomachenko really wants it. And there's a couple of other things going on that we can talk about. So thank you guys for joining us. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, guys. You know the drill. If you want to give us a couple of shekels, you can certainly do so via the Super Chat, the BDA, PayPal page, or the Patreon page. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. That's the most important thing. The most important thing is that you spread the BDA gospel. Don't forget the BDA Kumite. Bucho and I are organizing that. If there's anybody out there that wants to debate somebody, could be anybody, you call them out and we set it up in the Kumite. One man can leave. 2 people go into the Kumite and only 1 leaves. Okay, it can go on for as long as it has to. There will be no time limit unless, of course, both parties decide to do so. We might set up special circumstances for that. For the most part, it's going to be pretty rough. We're going to be opening up the phone lines pretty soon. Before we do that, shout out to C-Might Fart, Thomas Moreland, Apology Man, SSB28, BOKS, SSB28, St. Brit Sports, Dead Game Boxing, shout out to Dead Game, Amak PvP, Virtuoso, shout out to Virtuoso, and Mr. E, and the Pink Panther, Joey C67, Apology Man in the house as well, Brandon White, Gonzalo in there as well, Carlos Mendoza, Blues Boxing, and many more to come, I am sure. So before we continue, guys, let me just open up the phone lines here real quick. I see the numbers right there in the description. You can see it there with that guy. I think he's from one of those Nigerian movies. I asked Bucho where he got that gif from. He doesn't even know. He believes that it's from a Nigerian movie. Be that as it may, Nigerian or not, I'm opening up the phone lines now. So you guys can call in and tell us what you think about the possible Spence versus Garcia fight. Give me 2 seconds here because I already thought I had it open. It's just going to take, you're going to hear the message here from the woman. There's also a bunch of other news. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and Tank Davis are engaging in a quadruple Royal Rumble on Twitter and so all other forms of social media. These guys are Zoomers of the highest order. Instead of fighting in the ring or talking about fighting in the ring, it seems like they'd much rather fight each other on
Your
Twitter.
show will go live in 5 seconds.
Okay, there you go.
3,
3, 2, 1. By the way, I see we got Gonzalo already on the line. Gonzalo, are you there?
Blog Talk
Hey, how's it
Radio.
going, Mr. BDA?
Good, good. Thank you for being
Everybody.
on, man.
Yeah, just chilling, drinking some coffee.
Coffee.
It's morning time. It's morning time here in the Philippines. I picked up a shovel yesterday. I'm beat. It's not the same being over 40 than being in your prime.
Wait a minute.
But
Are
life is good.
you're tired because you picked up a shovel?
I worked for a few hours.
Oh, okay. I thought because you said I picked up a shovel. Now I'm tired. Like, what? What's the matter with you?
It's almost like that, but just I did a little more than that.
I got you. Listen, Gonzalo, there's some news coming out now. Lopez versus what's his name, Lomachenko apparently will be happening. I think Bob Arum said he wants to do it for October, but today the news came out that what's his name, Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia supposedly is in the works for a pay-per-view. Okay, let me show you the article here. Hold on a second, give me 2 seconds. I want to share the article with you. Now I'm going to put it up here on the screen for people to see. There we go. All right, so this is from Bad Left Hook. And it says, Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia in the works for a fall pay-per-view. Swift claimed mandatory status this past January with an uninspiring win over Ivan Redkach. I don't know if that's how you spell his name. I didn't think it was that bad a performance, but anyway, we'll get to that. That's not to say Garcia is in one of the top welterweights, blah, blah, blah. In any event, it's one of the best fights that can be made on 147. Actually, there's more detail here on this Boxing News 24 article. Chris Williams, who is a Lomachenko hater and Pacquiao hater too, he picked Keith Thurman to beat Pacquiao quite easily. And I don't remember what his excuse was after the fight. But anyway, they're talking about here that this fight was supposed to take place on pay-per-view on January 25th, but Spence's car crash foiled those plans. But then again, listen, okay, Gonzalo, this fight, they're saying they want to do this fight for September, October. The big problem here is that, hold on a second, why is this fucking thing? Oh, give me two. Okay. The big problem here, Gonzalo, is that he hasn't even sparred yet, according to him. I think the latest update was this month. As of this month, he still hasn't sparred yet. They're putting in new teeth because I think he lost 3 or 4 teeth. So they got to put those in. Then it's not a simple matter of just putting them in and that's it. The bone apparently from the jaw, the upper jaw, it has to remodel around the new teeth so that they solidify and it becomes strong enough. And even if they become strong enough, I don't know if you're supposed to be getting hit on those, even if you have a mouthpiece. So it seems like it's going to be unlikely. But then again, he claims he's going to be fighting Garcia this fall. So what do you think? I mean, if Spence comes back against Danny Garcia without a soft tune-up, is this much too soon for Spence?
It's I don't know if he's getting the clearance from the doctors because, yeah, it seems very unlikely. Even when you damage one tooth and you go to the doctor to get it repaired, and like let's say, for example, you get anesthesia, you feel like there's a whole lot going on in your mouth with just a little bit of work. Imagine getting punched in your mouth and you feel a little pain, but it's going to feel like it's a whole lot more than what's actually going on because I guess the mouth is like really sensitive. So, I mean, I don't know if like his gums would actually break, but if he would feel like a little bit of pain, I'm sure that in his mind, he would think that it's worse than it would actually be if it's not that bad, but it could actually be like really bad. Who knows? So who knows about if he's getting a clearance from the doctor or what's their thinking if they haven't sparred. And, you know, Danny Garcia, he got that good win against Redkach. I thought that was actually a decent performance myself because I had been following Redkach for a while because I've been trying to get the Shane Mosley interview. And he's a dedicated worker in the gym. So A lot of people thought he was like a bum over Red Catch, but he's actually pretty committed to training. So I thought that was a good win for Danny. And so he's been more active. So for them two to face each other without Spence having a prior tune-up or anything, I think that'd be a dangerous fight. Because we can say that if this Garcia is not better than the other Garcia, he's definitely a bigger version. So if Spence couldn't knock out Mikey, he's definitely not knocking out Danny. And he's going to be in for a competitive fight.
It's a very good point.
We don't know how that might pan out.
Yeah, that's a very good point about if he couldn't stop Mikey Garcia. Then again, styles make fights, but at the same time, what's his name? Danny Garcia has very rarely been hurt. And I mean seriously hurt. I mean, this guy has fought Keith Thurman, who's a decent puncher. Sean Porter was smart enough not to just rush him because he knew Garcia is a dangerous puncher. So, he didn't outlast Garcia in there. Garcia also faced a prime Lucas Matisse and barely flinched when he got hit by Matisse's bombs late in the fight. So Garcia has one of the best chins in boxing, even at welterweight, which isn't really his best weight. But like you said, he's a very tough guy. And I don't know if Errol Spence, especially, it's going to be dependent upon which version of Spence shows up because we haven't ever seen him since he came back from his accident. We haven't even seen him spar. Well, actually, we've seen him train a little bit. Now, to your point, Gonzalo, you said you don't know if the doctors have cleared him. They clearly cleared him to train. I think he's been training for the past couple of weeks. That the main problem is the sparring. They don't know if he's going to be able to, or when he's going to be able to spar. So we're at, the month of May now? In about 2 weeks, we're going to be in June. So June, July, August, September, October. That's in about 5 months. It's a pretty tight deadline, considering he still hasn't even sparred yet. But then again, Spence, I gotta give Spence a lot of credit, and some people didn't even fucking get it. In the last video that I did, I was asking questions about whether Errol Spence is gonna come back, and I talked about his alcoholism and his own. He even admitted that prior to the accident, he had not been training at 100%. That's what he said. And yet there were always, I expected this, some people came into the comment section. Oh, you a hater. I just pointed out what he said. And yet people still want to take that as hate. So I expected it, but it's still nevertheless quite perplexing that people can't understand the nuance of what I was saying in the video. And I gave Spence his props. And that's what I'm saying right now. Spence is a lunatic. That's how good he is. He thinks he can just come back from this without a tune-up. And maybe he can. I don't know. That's what makes Errol Spence Errol Spence. The fact that he loves to fight and he has a lot of confidence in himself. By the way, so we got Apology on the Discord. Apology, are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here, Apology. What do you think about this Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia? Supposedly they're trying to work on this for the fall 2020. Too much too soon for Spence? Or you think it's the perfect fight for him?
Yeah, I'm surprised Spence took this fight. Like, I would have thought you would have taken at least 2 tune-ups against decently durable fighters where you can get some rounds in, see how he chins holds up. But credit to him, it's going to be his death wish, but give him credit nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. You got to give him credit for coming back and taking this fight. People say, I've heard some, and I'm going to go through the comments later on, but I've read comments where people say, Danny Garcia is a tune-up. This guy is no tune-up, man. He's one of the top 10 welterweights in the world. He can crack, like Gonzalo was saying, he's very durable, has an iron chin. He has tons of experience. Like you said, I mean, this could be his downfall, man. I mean, he's jumping in there pretty quick, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Funny thing about Garcia, I recently rewatched his fights. He's legit, man. He's legit. He's a top contender. He's never been outboxed, clearly. Never been hurt, really. I thought he clearly beat Thurman. I thought Sean Porter fight could have gone either way. And I thought he clearly beat Lamont Pearson as well. He beat Matisse. He's a legit guy, man. His last performance at Crawford wasn't that good.
Wait a minute.
But neither was Spence. I thought Spence clearly lost to Porter, so they're both in the same boat.
All right. Hold on a second. Before we get to the Garcia's last fight, because that seems to be a point of contention here for a lot of people. Did I hear you say correctly? You thought Danny Garcia clearly won the Keith Thurman fight?
Yep, I gave Thurman like 3 rounds.
My goodness, Gonzalo,
he was running all night, and Garcia hit him with the harder shots.
Gonzalo, jump in here. Tell me what you think about what Apology just said.
Well, that kind of incites me and motivates me to go back and watch that fight. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm gonna have to take an apology on that so I can watch it. I can't say yes or no. I thought it was a close fight when I saw it, but I'm just gonna have to take a look at it again. Yeah, we're all entitled to have a bad performance. Maybe I'm just saying that, in life, we can all just have a bad day. When he had that fight against Mauricio Herrera, I mean, we can't just say that when a fighter, gets a gift decision that all of a sudden he's garbage or overrated. So all his fights have pretty much been close. So yeah, Garcia's a solid opponent, and if he ain't struggling, if he's not a true welterweight, he's not a small welterweight, so he's not struggling to cut down to that size. And I know Spence, he is a big guy that's going to struggle to make the weight. So Garcia's going to be comfortable in there.
You know what? I don't know if he's going to be comfortable, because apparently some people were saying that him and Spence are looking quite chunky during the interviews they do online during this whole COVID thing. That apparently they're not staying as sharp as they could. Apology, I got to ask you though, is this really Apology or is this JSFG or what's his name? DSF, the Garcia superfan that's been on the show a couple of times.
Well, I'll actually explain myself.
Yes,
All
please.
started about 3 weeks ago. You know Fight Scout, right?
No, I'm not talking about Fight Scout. I'm talking about...
No, I'm explaining myself why I scored the fight that way.
Go ahead, please.
You know Fight Scout, right?
Of course, yeah. Shout out to Fight Scout.
Yeah, he uploaded a video on basic defensive moves. And he talked about how Danny Garcia is one of the best at doing it. I took his word for it and rewatched Garcia's fight. So I was like, you know what? This guy is not... I think I've been too critical of him. And in the Furman fight, I just outworked Furman in every round. There were some swing rounds, yeah, sure. But Garcia... I thought Garcia was the ring general. I thought he had better defense. I thought he hit Furman a lot harder. And Furman ran for like the last 2 rounds. So there you go.
Okay, now
and
that's
the same thing in the Lamont Peterson fight. Another fight where he got a lot of shit. I thought he clearly won that as well.
The Thurman fight, I do agree. Thurman did not do as good as he could have. The early rounds, he was blitzing Garcia with his hand speed. I'm not saying blitzing as in he was beating him up, but I'm saying Garcia looked like he was struggling to cope with the hand speed a little bit. By the middle rounds, yes, I thought Garcia was doing the better work, but then he sort of never pushed the pace. It was a competitive fight. That's like Gonzalo said. Garcia has never been completely outmatched. He's always lost just by a little bit. All right, hold on a second. Shout out to G Boogie, who just donated a sizable contribution to the show. This will get us those Blog Talk calls for sure. That will cover those payments. G Boogie, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. And he says Danny Garcia needs to put muzzle on his father, Angel the Ponytail Garcia. And another thing, I'm not claiming him as a Puerto Rican. Well, you don't have to claim.
This is the problem with Garcia. He's ruined his image, and that's why fans are not taking it like. Remember BDA, he was like the next star, especially when he was at HBO and Golden Boy. He had the fight with Morales, that was building him up, then he had a rematch where he knocked him out. He was supposed to be a future star, but it all went wrong for him and he tainted his image multiple times.
What tainted his image? The second Morales fight, you're saying?
No, the second Morales fight, that was a catapult for bigger things, but after that, he tainted his image.
Maybe. I mean, look, I don't understand the hate for Danny Garcia. Like Gonzalo said, okay, he's had a couple of close fights. The Herrera fight, most people thought he lost. But, he didn't pay the judges. He didn't tell the judges, hey, give me that. You know what I mean? What?
For reasons, I think Garcia gets a lot of hate.
I didn't hear what you said.
That he gets a lot of hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets a lot of hate. I don't know if it's because of that. Listen, bottom line is...
I wanted to list the post.
You're cutting off a little bit there, Apology. That's why I think...
He's pretty methodical, so he doesn't really have that extra gear. But here's the problem when you're facing Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to open up on him, I think that exposes yourself to getting countered or getting hit back in a way that you can get hurt. You can't really get reckless. You can't really get reckless against Garcia because he's pretty methodical. You know, he's pretty well rounded. That he's gonna hit you back. So you don't want to go in there with the mentality that you're going to want to run this guy over if you're Spence, because he's pretty solid. So, you know, the same thing that happened to Spence in the Mikey Garcia fight, he kind of took it easy until he kind of figured him out that he could use his length to box him. So if I were Spence, I wouldn't go in there thinking I'm just going to bomb rush this guy and just try to take him out of there and open up, you know, because Garcia is going to be able to hit him back and possibly hurt him. So he's going to have to be very, very wise. And this whole thing with him not sparring often and enough leading up to this fight, that might be the key thing that goes against him.
Yeah, man. I mean,
can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, right. Okay. Did you want to say something? Apology.
Oh yeah, I wanted to list the reasons I think Garcia gets a lot of hate.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, it was started on the Herrera performance, which many people thought it was a robbery. So that didn't help him. He also didn't give Herrera a rematch to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Floyd, at least Floyd gave Castillo a rematch and beat him soundly. And then after that, he didn't fight his mandatory in Postal again, ruining his image. And many people thought he'd. Yeah,
that's what they said. He used to be all about that cherry life, right? Apologies.
Yeah. He also fought Rod Salker as well, which, you know, blatant cherry pick.
Yeah,
and
I think
after, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
After he had that, well, people perceive it as a close fight with Lamont Peterson. I thought he clearly won, but again, that didn't help him. And now his recent performance is adding to the dogpiling of the Garcia hate.
Mm-hmm. Those are all very good reasons. I understand why the fans would put the blame on Garcia for that. Well, you know, I'll tell you what. I like Garcia because he'll fight almost anybody. I do dislike the fact that he's being coddled a little bit by Al Heyman in regards to they give him one big fight and then they give him a couple of softies and then one big fight. And I also think that for the most part, most of the hate he gets is by proxy because of his father. His father is the big mouth. He rubs people the wrong way. He's got no filter. And so people associate Danny Garcia with that. But then again, it's not Danny Garcia the one who's doing the talking. It's his father. And I don't expect the son to tell the father to watch his mouth. You feel what I'm saying? On top of everything you said, it's true though. I mean, he's got for some fans dislike a guy who gets tough, close decisions. And they seem to think that it's him who's going to the judges and telling him, hey, listen, give me the closest. If it goes to a close decision, give it to me, all right? That's not how it usually works. As for the Ivan Redcash fight, a lot of people blame Garcia. And, you know, Buchos is the type of guy, he's the one that also criticized that performance, if I remember correctly, because he's the type of guy that says, look, if you want to look impressive, or if you want the big bucks, you gotta fucking stop these guys. And Redcash has been stopped before. But then again, Redcash, like Gonzalo said, he's a tough fighter, man. Okay, Tevin Farmer outboxed him, but he didn't stop him. The murderous punching John Molina stopped him, but he was about to get stopped himself. It was just one of those live by the gun, die by the gun type situation. So I'm not surprised that he gave Danny Garcia some work in that fight. What do you guys think about that?
No, I'm not, because I've been watching him, Redcash. For some reason, I just started following him, thinking that I can maybe get an interview with Shane Mosley, and you know, because he speaks Russian. I had mentioned that. Oh, maybe I could. Because I talked to him. I said, "Can you come on the show, Redcash?" Mm-hmm. So I started watching his regime, his training regimen, and he's pretty dedicated. Yeah, he lives and breathes boxing. So I mean, the guy. You know, I think he's pretty solid. He might not be the best, but he's a guy that's been fighting ever since he was a kid in Redcash. So I'm not surprised that he gave Garcia a tough fight.
Well, we criticized Spence for not stopping Mikey Garcia, a much better fighter. So it's only fair to criticize Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to be a top level fighter, you got to be taking these guys out. And like Breacher said, if you want the big money fights, you got to look impressive.
You know what? That is a very good point. That is a very good point. Red Catch was a guy that was coming up in a weight. I think he'd been fighting at lightweight not that long ago.
That's also true.
Yeah, so you know what, Gonzalo, you got a good point. Then again, I do believe Spence deserves more criticism because of the fact that people were claiming this guy could go up to middleweight and beat a lot of those top guys in there. So that made it worse that he couldn't beat Mikey Garcia. But then again, your point remains the same, man. Your point remains the same or as valid. It's Danny Garcia. He's supposed to be a good puncher. He fights a guy that's considered a soft touch for him, and he can't stop him. So we got to criticize Danny Garcia for that. That being said, we've seen, bottom line is this, Garcia has never been beaten easily. Like Apology said, Apology had Garcia winning the Thurman fight. You know, even the Sean Porter fight, that was pretty competitive. So, you know, I'm not expecting a soft touch from Errol Spence. I'm not expecting a soft, and especially since there's so many questions out there regarding Errol Spence's, you know, whether he's got new teeth in there like an old man. He did get thrown out of a car. So I don't know how he's gonna look. I don't know how he's.
Yeah. Do you watch? You don't really watch UFC that much, do you?
You know what? I'm less and less. But yeah, go ahead. What's...
There's a fighter called RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos. Mm-hmm. He got knocked out like cold by Jeremy Stevenson, and after that they put a steel plate in his jaw, and that improved his chin, and he could like literally walk through punches he couldn't walk through before. So if they do that to Spence, he can have like basically an iron jaw, a literal iron jaw.
Wait a minute. So they
interesting.
They put a plate on his.
In his jaw. He broke his jaw when he got knocked out, so he had to do surgery on his jaw and put like a metal plate. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but something metal in his jaw, and that improved his chin. He said himself he felt like he can take punches a lot better.
That actually would be dangerous. Because if you feel pain, if you get rattled, that's an indication that maybe you should step back or protect yourself or not go into like a toe-to-toe battle because, you know, you're feeling something. But if you're numb, you know, you can't feel the punch and you're just taking them, man, that's a bad way to take punches and not know and incur like some type of brain damage.
Definitely good side. But could be able to take punches and it could just harm your opponent. Like, shit, this guy's taking all my punches. What do I do? He just keeps walking forward.
But you think if you're still taking the punches, it doesn't mean that they're not hurting you. Maybe you're just not feeling them, but you can still get a lot of damage, you know? That's the point of the steel in the jaw. You don't feel it as much, and it reinforces your jaw a lot more because it's more rigid.
Well, listen, guys, here's the article I'm reading. It's a short article. It's one of those top 10 list articles, so it doesn't go into too much into depth, but it says, Rafael Dos Anjos will be squaring off against Colby Covington, blah, blah, blah. Ever since the American Clay Guida shattered his jaw in 2010, Dos Anjos has been living with 20 screws and 4 titanium plates in his face. The Brazilian claims that opponents have broken their hands when landing punches on his metallic jaw in the past, although this claim has been refuted by orthopedic surgeon Dr. Johnny Benjamin. What the name is that for a doctor? Johnny Benjamin. It sounds like a guy that sells candy or something. As being absolute fantasy. Still, would you risk... Apology, hasn't Dos Anjos been stopped a couple of times since 2010?
He on a punch while standing punched. So you be the judge of that. He didn't go down. He was standing when he was stopped. And the shot that hurt him was to the temple, not the jaw. All right. Well, Johnny Benjamin says that it's not possible. So, but I mean, we'll have to see. As far as I know, Errol Spence did not have any metal plates inserted into his face. They said that the only injuries he sustained in that horrible car crash were a couple of scratches and those missing teeth, which again makes me think that he wasn't in that car when that footage of the accident, somebody else was in that car. I think because it's very bizarre that that happened, that car rolling over and over, and he only sustained a couple of broken teeth. I mean, So what do you think happened to him then?
I think he actually OD'd on something, and he fell, like he was drunk or something, and he fell down the stairs, boom, broke his teeth, and then people say, shit, what do we do? How do we explain this? Oh, let's get his car, let's roll it down the street, and because you can control those things with remote control now if you get a good hacker.
It could be a possibility.
It's very far-fetched, man. I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, it's that bizarre that he was in the car and that's all he sustained. It's a miracle. I think God was on his side on that day. And he should be rethinking his lifestyle. Because after, like I said in the video, after that accident, the first tweet he put out was, I'm a beast, no broken bones. And I'm thinking, that sounds like a very prideful person. Instead of saying, oh man, I'm so blessed, I'm going to look at my life differently from here on out. It seems, because it can go two ways with people when they experience a miracle. It can either make them humble, or it can make them double down on their hubris. And I hope that's not what's happening with Spence.
Yeah, when you're young, sometimes you think you're invincible, and if sometimes you get some type of confirmation that you just got lucky, you might actually think you are, and they might actually, you know what? Think about it. If, let's say, for example, never mind the comment, but if it's helping his confidence in a way that, he might not be so shell-shocked. He might just think, if I survive the accident, I can survive anything, and he's not going to take it as a negative when he steps into the ring.
You know what, BDA?
That's interesting.
God forbid this happens, but I think if someone else was injured, like maybe his daughter or his mother in the car crash, I think then he would have changed. He wouldn't have tweeted that, first of all. He would have changed his life. But because he survived and it's happened to him, I don't think he really cares.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, like you said, if he was somebody he loved would have been in that car, he would have rethought his comment. But no, listen. It's the mentality of a fighter. Fighters are they live their lives 100 miles per hour. That's why they're boxers, because they love that adrenaline they get and that thrill of fighting. And most of the time, that's why these type of guys can't have a good transition from boxing to retirement, because they are not used to living a boring life or what was boring for them. So that's why he lives his life that way. But hopefully he decides to or realizes that he can have his fun inside the ring and he doesn't have to go around, driving 120 miles per hour down the street. By the way, we got a phone call. Let's go to the phone lines real quick. 954, you're on the air. 954.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you, man? Identify yourself, please, because I always forget who this is.
My name's Jay. I've called a few other times. We talked a little bit about Tank Davis and his weight and all that kind of stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
Not my first time calling in, but I love the show and thank you for letting me call in.
Absolutely, anytime. So what's on your mind?
Well, yes, talking about Spence and any after effects. There's another. I follow many boxing shows. You're the only one that lets call-ins, but the other one that I follow, which shall remain nameless on your air.
Go ahead, say its name, man. Come on.
Talks about the fact. Go ahead.
No, say the name. Don't.
Jeez. Well, now that I said I wouldn't mention it, I can't remember the name of it. All I know is there's two guys out of Baltimore, they're best friends. I can't remember their name. The name of this show. Boxing Rant. The Boxing Rant.
The Boxing Rant. I think I've heard of it. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Well, they're roughly the same age as me. They remember some of the same fighters that I do, and so I kind of adapt to some of these things. But one of the lead guys talks about it. He says that all this talk about Spence and who he's going to fight next and everything else, he's had very few appearances, and you guys may have addressed this because I'm tuning in late to the show, but it was nothing for a while except for one message that you referred to of I'm a beast, a savage, or something like that. Then that was taken down. Then there was months until we saw him again. It was an awkward interview with, I think, Brian Kenny on Showtime. And there hasn't been much talk of anything up until now. Supposedly Danny Garcia is his next opponent, but that was said, 8 months ago that it was going to be his next opponent. So that's not real news. And the last thing I saw on Boxing 24 said that he's training in the gym, but they won't let him spar yet. So we still don't even know if he can't spar yet. It may be for his teeth, but maybe there's more. I mean, let's face it, HIPAA states the fact that he doesn't have to tell us what's wrong with him. That's medical information, which is private information, so it's not revealed to the public. We don't have to know what's going on. If he tells his doctors or his promoters tell the doctors, don't tell anybody, they can't tell anybody. So we have yet to find out exactly what status he's in at the moment. He appears to be in good shape when we see him hitting the bags, but that doesn't mean he can spar. So we have no idea what damage has or has not been done. So they say no broken bones, which I'm with you that there could be that mystery grassy knoll person that flew out of the car and, nothing happened to him. But at the same time, if that was him that flew out of the car, is there something neurologically wrong? Nobody would have to know that if he said, don't tell anybody.
That's a good point.
And so we still, it was less than a month ago. It was on Boxing 24, so I'm still not allowed to spar yet. And it could be for his teeth. But he hasn't even sparred since that fight, which was, in September? And we're halfway through May. So he still doesn't even know what he's going to be able to take when he finally gets hit in the face by, let's say he spars with Sean Porter, a guy who's a middleweight in the amateurs, or he spars with the Charlo brothers, because from my understanding, they all live out in Texas. They spar together sometimes. When he's in with like world-class sparring competition like that, we have no idea what may or may not happen. And nothing may happen.
That's a good point. They're talking about the fight.
There may be something neurologically wrong.
Exactly. That's a good point. See, when you mentioned the neurological aspect.
Go ahead.
If he wants to, like you said, if he wants to hide that, he can do it for the time being. And we don't know what he's got. For all we know, he could have torn his urethra and he could be pissing in a bag. And he's not telling anybody, because that when you tear your urethra, that's the type of stuff that can happen. It's pretty gosh darn annoying. I'm saying with the neurological aspect, that's the most dangerous though. It's not as annoying as a urethra thing, but it's more dangerous because, like you said, what happens if he takes a punch and something happens to him? Like maybe he's more susceptible to hematomas or something. We don't know. In regards to the sparring, like we were saying earlier, with the teeth, was that?
Ken Norton, retired and could speak English just fine, got one car wreck and he was slurring his speech for the rest of his life.
Eesh. Yeah.
Given it was after a long career, but it just took. He took punches from. He sparred with Joe Frazier. Took punches from Ernie Shavers in sparring, and George Foreman and Jerry Cooney. And he got knocked out by some pretty powerful punches. But when he retired, he was speaking English just fine. One car wreck, and he was slurring for the rest of his life. So what can one car wreck do? We don't know how fast Errol was going, but it was enough for the car to take flight.
That's true, man.
The
yeah.
wheels left the ground and it flipped. It was fast enough to. They never released how fast the car was going, even though they possibly could have gotten an idea from the film of with modern technology. But we do know it was fast enough to eject the person and flip and take off the ground. So. And like I said, one accident ruined Ken Norton I met him at the Hall of Fame, and it took him a good 3 minutes to have a basic conversation. As nice as he was, God bless him, God rest his soul. But that car wreck did him in. So it might do, one good hit from someone on the head to. But on the flip side, I got two more words: Vinny Pazienza.
Okay, let me
box for a long time after his car wreck.
Right. Let me get the panel on this. Guys, what do you think about what the caller's saying?
It's all subjective. It's all dependent on each individual situation, I think.
Well, he did bring up the point about we haven't seen Spence all that much, and the only interview he gave on TV was that the awkward interview on Showtime. Subsequently, he has made appearances on online YouTube, Zoom, whatever you call them, live stream appearances, and he seems to be okay. I didn't see the slurring that I had noticed before, but the most worrying aspect of all this also is, as I mentioned in my video, he's admitted that he wasn't. Well, he says that. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but he says he didn't train all that properly for either the Mikey Garcia fight or the Sean Porter fight. So
Mikey Garcia and he also said for the Sean Porter fight.
Right. Now I don't know if those are post excuses that he's making because he actually thought he was going to stop those guys and he couldn't, or if it's true or not. I mean,
he looked in good shape in both fights, but maybe what he means is that he's gaining too much weight, so he's focusing on losing weight and not much sharpen up his tools, like, in the ring, sparring, because when you gain a lot of weight, for a lot of these guys,
Taylor used to do.
they focus on losing weight instead of like, getting in the ring and sparring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They have to spend most of the camp on conditioning because they gain too much weight in between. Yeah, Melvin Taylor was one of those kind of guys that would do that. But, you look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson always looked like he was in shape, but in Buster Douglas, he quote-unquote wasn't in shape. His body was lean. He wasn't in fighting shape. You can walk around and look like a bodybuilder all day long, but there's a difference between being, ripped and being ready to go 12 to 15 rounds of boxing. And
that was a mental thing with Tyson, though. He had a lot going on in his lifetime. Yeah. But also, like Spence, he's got a lot going on in his life, too.
I appreciate you guys letting me call in.
All right, man. Thank you for calling in, man. Call in the next time, all right, man?
No problem. Take care.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, he brings up.
Can I mention one point, BDA?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
I think the money thing might be one of the motivational factors that's pushing him into taking a big fight. Because with the COVID thing, they're not getting no salaries. But beside that, he had already been in that accident and all those bills that he probably incurred. For the car, I don't know the doctor's bills, how that goes in his like personal life, But money-wise, he hasn't been bringing anything in. So he might be wanting to cash in on a couple $1 million payday, which certainly he can get that. Because, Danny Garcia, he usually fights like for $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what he's aiming for. Because a tune-up fight wouldn't satisfy the public or his bank account. Then push into a big pay-per-view fight with the Crawford in the tens of millions. So I think that's one of the biggest motivational factors he's got going on. I'm going to risk it, but I want to cash in on some big paycheck. That's
a good point, man, because some people are saying, well, first of all, and I would love to get Jimmy's input on this because he knows more about the business side of this whole thing. But he was saying, I believe, last time he was talking about Al Heyman and the PBC was that they're not all that well off financially, and they don't have the financial flexibility to make the type of fights as they want to. Especially, listen, Spence versus Garcia. Both of these guys, I think Spence made $2 million for the Thurman fight. I suspect he would want more for the Spence fight. So if they're gonna get above $2 million for the fight, Fox Sports, I don't think they can afford that. Showtime right now, they're in limbo. We don't know if they're gonna be into boxing. So pay-per-view seems to be the only avenue possible. And also Spence, he's great. Like I said, he's crazy. He wants to jump in there with a.
That might be a mistake, BDA. The whole pay-per-view thing.
Well, first of all, let us know, recognize. And by the way, thank you for being on. Give us your thoughts on this whole. Supposedly, because they're talking about making that fight, Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia for the fall. Too much too soon for Errol Spence, or the perfect fight?
I don't know. You see, that's the thing about Errol Spence. Let's take Errol Spence and minus the action for a second, right? Even now, even that Spence, I would give him. I would pick him to beat Danny Garcia, but I don't think it's going to be easy. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Danny is one of those guys that he's always good enough to make the fight interesting. You're not going to meet too many people that could blow him out. I think a lot of that has to do with he's a very strong kid. Extremely strong, can take a lot of punches, and he can hit you with a good shot. So, remember, Spence couldn't knock out Mikey Garcia, who's significantly smaller than Danny.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't stop him. And Danny Garcia, he hasn't been close to being stopped by no one, not even close. So I don't think I could see Spence in a scenario outboxing him and winning on points, and maybe even do it in a wide margin, or then at least better than the guys that Danny lost to, like Keith Thurman, a fight that I thought he could have won. Danny could have won that fight, in a very close fight with Sean Porter. That fight was extremely close. I was there. I watched it. I edged it out for Porter, but it wasn't a blowout. And the kid was never really hurt or in like any desperate trouble, of getting stopped or just getting blown out on the scorecards. He was always in the fight in all these fights.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some gift decisions, what we call gift decisions, but You could do the same thing with Keith Thurman. You could do the same thing with Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. That fight was extremely close as well. So, it all depends. If Spence ain't ready, Danny Garcia will let you know. That's for sure. I mean, I know people don't like him, but if he ain't ready, yeah, Spence will be in a lot of trouble.
Hey, recognizing he's been in there with some pretty good punchers, right? Matisse, Zab Judah can crack.
I mean, look,
yeah,
I would think that Spence is stronger than those guys, but in strength-wise, but punching-wise, he might be a little bit stronger than them because he's the naturally bigger guy. But Danny doesn't even come close to getting stopped. Like, he doesn't even buckle his legs. The kid is extremely strong. It's just that he's like in cement on that front foot. That's what I've always thought. That's what hurts Danny Garcia, because he's a lefty. So he fights with his strong hand as his lead. As his jab. So it's to set up the jab, but he wastes too much time, and you could see him always getting the short end of the stick because he's getting outworked.
Yeah.
So
he's not a very. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I thought you were finished. Sorry.
No, I mean, basically that's it, man. I think that if I don't believe this fight's gonna happen. Me personally, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think it's just talks. But if it does, it's an interesting fight. I think I'll just forget that Spence had this real bad car accident, that they know what they're doing. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. And if I had to go with a win, I would go Spence. But if he's not ready, bro, Danny beats the shit out of him. I'll tell you right now. If he's like going through some shit and he really wasn't ready, he might get hurt bad in that fight.
Keith Thurman said that he got hit really hard by Danny Garcia with the shot to the shoulder. That's the guy that's been able to hit him the hardest. So I mean, yeah, he's got cement feet, but he also plants himself very well, right? Recognize to punch.
Well,
I agree with you.
Did he say, Gonzalo? Did he say that post Pacquiao or
post Pacquiao? Yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I think it was the speed. He was the speed that was pretty good for a little guy, for a smaller man. But overall, Danny Garcia, he caught him with the shot to the shoulder, I believe he said, or to the arm, that he felt the thud.
Yeah, people, by the way, Kenshiro says, can I call up, please? Yeah, the number's right there, guys. Number's right there on the left side, middle side of the screen, on the left side. So call in, don't be afraid. Inside the Canada, in North America, essentially, Canada, the United States, otherwise you have to pay exorbitant fees. So I would suggest if you're outside of Canada, the United States, it's not going to be a good idea. But yeah, numbers right there, guys. Call in, tell us what you think about the potential Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia fight, which is being planned for the fall. You guys mentioned Danny Garcia. The fact that Errol Spence is coming back with his broken teeth, we don't know if he's going to be able to take a punch. The doctors have not let him spar yet. And Danny Garcia gets a lot of hate. Recognize, before you jumped on, we were talking about why Garcia gets a lot of hate. And apology, man, he went through a list. I mentioned also that it's because of his father. He gets a lot of hate by proxy. But at the end of the day, he's a guy that's, like you said, nobody's been able to beat him convincingly. And he hits pretty fucking hard. Okay, he's not Deontay Wilder in there where he's knocking guys out cold. But believe me, he cracks pretty fucking hard. And if Spence has any lingering damage from the accident, that punching power from Garcia is only gonna...
It's not gonna help things, And if that's why I say, okay, I like the talks, and if they're really gonna fight, I'm definitely interested. But if I can't see, if Spence is not ready for that, and we find out in the ring, he's not. This notion that Danny's a bum, really, and he's just this hype job. You're not really paying attention. You know what I'm saying? There hasn't been nobody to blow out Danny, and Danny's shown that he can hurt guys. I think Gonzalo mentioned what Keith Thurman said. If you go look at those later rounds, Keith Thurman was in survival mode.
Yeah, he was running. He ran 2 rounds in a row, just straight up ran.
Yeah, and he didn't, I don't have a problem with the decision that they gave it to Keith Thurman because it was that kind of fight. But I remember there was a lot of over exaggeration. He blew him out. I'm like, what fight were you guys watching? What do you mean he blew out Danny Garcia? No, he didn't. He almost got blown out.
Exactly. When you're on your back foot, running away from him because he's too strong. Like, come on.
He almost got blown out. If anything, because I think he just realized this kid is too strong, and he's got a little bit more energy. Let me play it safe. I mean, well, that cost De La Hoya versus Trinidad, right? It didn't cost him, but it cost De La Hoya. And that's not a sign of a guy who's in total control. It sounds like a guy who's like, I need to get the fuck out of this fight before something bad happens. And so, look, I'm not trying to over exaggerate Danny. Danny's he's pretty much his own worst enemy a lot of times. And even at his best, you can beat a guy like that. But he's not Garcia's definitely not a pushover. He's not like a guy you want to play games with. In other words, I want to find out where you at. Go fight Danny Garcia. You better be ready. You better be ready for that fight.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know what? Apology, man. I disagree with him about the decision that Garcia deserved that to win that fight. But I will say, like you guys said, it is very disconcerting for Keith Thurman. I'm changing subjects a little bit, but yeah, Keith Thurman ran in the last round against Sean Porter and in the last one against Danny Garcia. And like you said, recognize, who does he think he is? Floyd Mayweather? Because he's one of the only guys against Maidana and Castillo in all 4 fights. He ran in the last round. Sort of like saying, oh, I got this in the bag. Keith Thurman did not even do half as good as against those guys. The fight was extremely close, and he should not have been running in that last round. So yeah, that's I don't understand why he did that.
That's why, like, I talked to a lot of boxing fans, and there was some of us that were like, "Did you guys see this blowout?" That most people, first of all, the judges didn't have it that way. I kind of agree with the judges. It was 2 judges had it for Thurman, 7-5, 115, 113, and the other judge had it 7-5, Danny, 115, 113. I'm like, yeah, that's accurate. Actually, I actually don't have a problem with that scorecard at all. But this blowout that you guys saw is like, no, that didn't happen, bro. That you weren't watching the fight. Keith Thurman looked like he a man of concern in that fight. Like, this kid could punch hard. I got to be careful, And when he did get caught, he reacted like a guy who was like, yo, this motherfucker could bang. I got to be real careful, So,
you know what? I think. Hold on a second. We got a phone call. Hold on a second, real quick. Let's go to 447. You're on the air. 447. Okay, first of all, 447, you got to mute your speakers there because we hit a little feedback in the background. 447, you're on the air. 447, I know you're there. I heard the speakers before.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. What's up?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I heard obviously one of you guys saying that potential Errol Spence could have incurred medical bills for his car crash, and he hasn't fought in a while. As I think recognized said that if he doesn't bring his A game, Danny Garcia could potentially cause a lot of problems for Errol Spence. And I'm thinking, well, if Errol Spence is after some easy money, why not fight Amir Khan? I mean, let's be honest, Amir Khan has a chin of a poppadom. He can probably get his Arab buddies to finance millions to fight Errol Spence, and that's an easy payday for Errol Spence. And let's be honest, another knockout in your resume.
That's a good point. But before I continue this caller, I gotta ask you: are you calling from overseas in the UK?
Yeah, okay. London. I've called you guys a few times in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I wasn't there. It was my co-host Butcher. But so you don't mind, because I think you're gonna get charged exorbitant fees for overseas call.
He's from London. He gets paid by the pounds. Come on.
All right. All right. So go ahead.
Fine.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. Continue your point, please.
No, that's cool. I mean, I like talking to you, sort of recognizing Butcher and the rest of you guys. I mean, I think you guys make some interesting points, and yeah, but I mean, I think if if Errol Spence is after an easy, quick payday before he tries to fight somebody of significant character, like I guess Danny Garcia is just a step up to trying to fight a money match with Terence Crawford, or I guess Manny Pacquiao with the big one, then Amir Khan, just give him the shot, because let's be honest, I mean, if Amir Khan fights the same against Crawford, he'll easily break down after a while. I mean, you've seen the amount of knockouts that happened against Amir Khan. His chin is like, it's the worst chin I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, if that's what Errol Spence needs for the quick, easy money.
You know what? You make some very good points, but even though, Amir Khan would be a good fight because at least he's got fast hands. Then again, people would murder Errol Spence's reputation if he took that fight. Because let me show you an example here of what I'm talking about. On the Boxing 24 article that's talking about the supposed Garcia-Spence fight, people are already shitting on that fight. The first comment on that article, somebody goes, "Another opponent for Spence who will tell us nothing about how good Errol is. Whoever he fights, he seems to start with an advantage." And I'm not talking about skill-wise. So already people are shitting on what's a very good fight, especially since he's coming back from a fucking car crash that should have killed him.
Yeah, that's not fair. To me, that's just not fair. I mean,
Garcia
you're really shitting on Danny
already. So.
Yeah, you're already shitting on Danny Garcia.
No.
That's one. Two, you're like disregarding that Spence is taking a pretty risky fight, man. This is a guy who would have given him problems before the accident. I mean, we don't know if he's like totally done. I truly believe that Danny Garcia, could give a well prepared Errol Spence a problem. Spence will probably still win, but don't tell me that Danny's not good enough to, for the win. So I think that's just a little bit overreaction.
Caller?
Also, if you think about it, if you think about it, Amir Khan's paid millions to male strippers to fight in Saudi Arabia. You can't tell me his Arab friends won't finance him, Errol Spence to get a good 20, 30 million, for example, by putting his belt on the line. Errol will walk right through him and walk out of Saudi Arabia with, tens of millions of dollars, or, $10 million, whatever, at least. And nice, easy fight. I mean, I understand what Recognize is saying, that people would slaughter his reputation, but let's be honest, Recognize. I mean, would you rather get $20, $30 million in the bank and your woman is happy, or your boy saying, "Yo, man, that's a good fight, but you only earn $2 million and a hard fight"?
I'm sorry, I didn't get to hear. The caller kind of broke up a little bit. What did he ask me?
What I was saying, Recognizes, would you be happy with $20 million, for example, in your back pocket, and your woman all happy, or you winning $2 million and your boy saying, "Yeah, that's good," and you had a hard fight as well?
Oh, of course, I would take the first part for sure. But
yeah,
listen, man, it goes to show you, man, that I believe, this is what I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that this is something I don't think I brought up. I think they feel that Spence is ready for this fight. They must feel. I don't think they'll. I don't know. It's hard to say what the PBC is thinking, but I'm gonna give Spence more responsibility on this. Spence must feel he's ready for Danny Garcia. If this is all going according to plan and the main goal is to fight Garcia in the fall, and if that's true, then I believe that Spence thinks that he is ready. He might be wrong. I mean, this is what happens. He could be one of those athletes that believe in themselves so much until it's too late. They get in the ring and they find out, oh shit, I think I should have gotten a tune-up first. Maybe that's the case, but I do believe that I do believe Spence thinks that he's ready. I've heard some talks about him. I've heard some interviews where he's like, on the surface, it sounds like he wants to take his career more serious, and this car accident scared the shit out of him, which is all good stuff for a still relatively young man. When you're 30 years old, you're still pretty young, and so if he's on that and he's not miscalculating, as a boxing fan, yeah, I want to see Danny Garcia versus Spence, and let's see what happens, because if he beats Spence, props to Danny Garcia. But if Spence goes in there and beats him and does it in convincing fashion, then he's back in the fucking game. He's back in it. Like, yeah, you can start talking him and Crawford. Manny Pacquiao, I really don't want to see, but yeah.
Caller.
I don't know, brother. I mean, but does Spence want Danny? I mean, I wouldn't class Danny Garcia as a tune-up fight, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know why people are.
Is it $2 million? Did he say $2 million that he's going to get for Danny Garcia? Spence?
No, it was an example. No, that was an example.
Yeah. No, I got it. I got what you're saying. Yeah. I would take the first part. $20 million. My wife super happy.
Yeah, no more blood in your fucking foot. What's that?
Is it up to him, or is
Good
it
question?
Up to Heyman?
And I wouldn't dangle 2 belts in front of Danny Garcia's face because I bet he's really, really wanting to become a champion again.
The only thing dangling in front of Danny Garcia is his fucking girlfriend's tits. Have you seen the size of those motherfuckers? God damn.
Yeah.
All right.
I like his girlfriend, man. I like her. She's kind of cute.
Have you seen her ass? Jeez.
Oh, yeah, it's a little bit too big.
It's that cherry life, man. That cherry life.
It's all about that cherry life. Listen, caller, we're gonna move on, but anything else you want to say before we move on?
Just one very quick thing. If Danny Garcia does fight Spence, personally, I hope Danny's dad just shuts the hell up and just lets his son do the fighting. He's obviously his dad's trying to live through his son because he's failed as a fighter. So just shut up and let your son do the fighting.
Yeah,
exactly. I agree with that.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. All right, listen, thank you for calling it. By the way, is this Kenshiro on the chat?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. All right, Kenshiro, thank you for your call. Very good points. Very good call, man. Call back next time, all right?
Good call, bro.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe. Thank you.
You
Stay
too,
safe.
man.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Yeah, man, listen, the whole thing about the money, that's like I was telling people, I don't know if Fox Sports is going to be able to spring for this, so that's why they're doing it on pay-per-view rather. Also, people in the chat room, I think there was a guy, Hulk Hogan, and
Hulk Hogan?
There's a guy named Hulk Hogan there, and another user, they were debating about Errol Spence's weight. Now, Errol Spence said in 2 podcasts that I've heard, he did say that he was blowing up to 190. In fact, he was blowing up to 190.
Remember when I told you? Remember you was asking me, you sure it wasn't the clothes? I was like, yeah, that's a good point because it was sort of like in the going into the winter. When I saw him at the Danny Garcia Porter fight, like I was looking at a guy who looked about 180, 190. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this kid he's short. Short for me, but he's not short as a welterweight. Like I'm looking at a short, stocky guy. About 5'9", maybe 5'10", and about 190. Has some weight on him. So that's what I was like. He don't look like a welterweight. That's for sure.
Right. Well, Hulk Hogan in the chat room says, out of shape, he's 190, but in shape, he's about 165, 170.
And the thing is, what's funny? You say that because I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, even though he's big, he looked like he got muscles under there. Like he don't look like it. It doesn't look like it's fat. It looks like he got some, some bulk to him.
Well,
it's just not pure.
It's one thing, it's one thing to lose fat, and it's a whole other thing to lose the muscle. So let's say
muscle weight, there's nothing to play with, man.
Exactly.
I couldn't look. I think I've told you this, man. When I used to box as an amateur, I fought at my weight that day. I could never lose weight because first of all, I wasn't fat. It was, I'm not trying to brag, but it was muscles. I'm not gonna be fucking dropping muscle weight. Maybe I'll do a jog and let's say if I had to cut like 2 or 3 pounds, I could do that. That's not a problem. But like once you start talking about 10 or better, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I can't do that shit.
Yeah, no, that's rough, man. I've seen fighters in the amateurs. I'm walking down the halls and I see guys, sprinting outside in the parking lot, spinning in a cup and just trying to get those extra pounds off, that extra pound off for the weigh-in. And then they got to fight the same day. Now, of course, it's just 3 rounds, but by that 3rd round, you could hit the wall. So, I know. But the bottom line is this. For Errol Spence, okay, let's say he weighs 165 the day after the weigh-in. That's still, like you guys were saying, he's at fat camp instead of training camp. So he's got to lose muscle. He's boiling himself down to make the one, especially the last week before the weigh-in, or the week of the weigh-in. He has to boil himself down to 147. That's hell. If you've never gone through it, that's hell for these guys. And as you all know this, and if you don't know this, we're going to reiterate it. You can't get away with that for too long. When you're young, especially if you're taking, supplements, if you know what I mean, you can do it. But it starts to get harder and harder, especially when you're coming off a gosh darn accident and you haven't been training properly for the last 6 months. So, guys, what do you think about that? I'll be right back, by the way.
If he's got the titles, can he do a catch weight? No, he can't, right?
Well, he can't do a catch weight over the weight limit. That's the problem, right? So let's say, he fights at 147. Let's say he's like, oh man, this 147 thing is just a little too big. I would like to fight for the welterweight belt at 149. He can't do that.
Oh, that's 2 pounds. Yeah, 2 pounds he would lose.
Didn't Garcia do that against Lamont Pearson?
Right. They fought that. No, but it wasn't for no belts. They were both 140 champions at the time, and I think they couldn't make 140. You got to look at the same day weigh-in that night on both of them. Yo, they were over 165. I think both of them were over
big,
that.
Man.
Yeah.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up,
Johnny?
Hey, Johnny.
What's going on? We talking about Spence and Danny?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if they fight in the fall, like they're saying.
I said, I did a little stream or whatever, like today. What's it called? Bro? Fucking dude, listen. It's interesting to me because, and listen, I don't hate Spence. Like I say, I just don't like his fans, bro. I don't hate Spence at all. I think he's a good fighter. But I ain't got no problems with that, bro. And plus, he just got thrown through the fucking car windshield. Danny Garcia looked like shit in his last fight. So I like the fight. Should it be pay-per-view? Nah, but I like the fight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a mistake, bro. I think they, like a lot of these people do this. They overestimate the market to come back. I mean, have they not been seeing like 40 million people lost their jobs in America? 40 million, and a lot of these guys, they don't even know if come back once the quote unquote reopening of America is in full effect. A lot of those jobs are not going to come back. So
that's, you got to take in mind, that's like 15% of the whole country, bro. 15%.
Exactly. And here's another thing: they're assuming that once everything does, that these guys have no bills to pay. Like they, I think it. Look, I don't know. These guys know better than me. I just outside looking in, it looks like a mistake to put it on pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was just talking to Mark and Ring IQ this morning, bro, on his shit or my shit or whatever the fuck it was. And I says, you got to look from the PBC. I'm saying do I agree with it? No, but this is from the PBC's perspective. You got 3 guys that you can put on pay-per-view, right? Wilder, who just got the shit kicked out of him.
Yep.
Pacquiao, who's on his way out the door.
That's true.
Spence.
Yep.
So they have to out of desperation.
No, that's a good point, and I definitely agree with that. Those are the guys that they can make pay-per-view money off of. But again, man, they might not. I mean, look, anything can change from here to, I guess they said the fall, so I'm thinking late October, going into November. Think anything can change, but the way it's looking right now, I wouldn't be too confident about that. That's for
right.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think they're just doing it out of desperation, like I say, because there are other 2 guys they're starting to lose that they can put on pay-per-view, and that's going to take, and that's one more walk towards the plank for the PBC right there.
Well, at some point, they're going to want to do a pay-per-view, regardless if it's this fight or another, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah. They would want to. Here's another problem that's happening. I just saw this happen. So. The governor over here of New York, right, was like, being a real asshole towards sporting events. He was like, nah, you guys, sporting events is closed indefinitely. That doesn't mean forever. It just means to whenever he says so, And so he asked baseball, which is like the Yankees and the Mets. We got one that plays in Queens, the other one that plays in the Bronx, right? So he asked them to come back, to make plans to come back but without a crowd. Baseball said, "No, sorry, bro. I don't think we could do that, man." I mean, you got to understand the amount of money these people make, and I'm not just bringing this up about baseball. This is about every event. If anybody's ever been to a boxing fight, the amount of money that they make on the concession stands, flyers, you name it, a lot of shit. They make a ton of money, and that's how they pay a lot of bills too. And that's how they pocket money. Let's be honest, right? They pocket you win it to make money. So this whole idea about no fans, look, me personally, would I love to see a baseball game with no fans, just to be entertained, or a boxing fight with no fans? For me personally, yeah, I'm cool with that. But we got to start thinking about it in their end. They might come to a lot of conclusions when it comes to like these big fights that we want to see, and say, not worth it. We just did the calculation. We don't think we could do that.
One thing about having no fans, though, recognize, is that the punches sound cleaner and louder.
Yes, definitely. You can hear them land. Even when you don't see them, you can hear them land.
Me personally, I don't give a fuck if the fans there or not. But like, recognize this from their perspective. That's how they got to see it, bro. And here's the thing. I think Top Rank, switching from PBC to Top Rank, I think Top Rank's going to fuck around and try and push that Lomachenko and Teofimo fight out at the end of the year, because they know Teofimo ain't going to be able to make the weight, bro, much longer. So I think they're going to, fans or no fans, you're probably going to end up getting that by the end of the year, I think.
Can I say something? In regards to the fights with no sound on, I like when you can hear the punches. It adds a little bit more pizzazz to the actual fight. And I've always said, now with the digital cable and satellite boxes, and you can choose surround sound and all that, I've always said you should have a feature where you can mute the commentators and just hear the sound of the crowd and
I
the
know,
punches.
man.
It would be fantastic, because I don't want to hear this.
There was a channel.
I don't want to hear this anymore, man.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, come on.
Hey, BDA, do you remember this boxing channel? I don't know what happened to it, but it actually has the fight. You can hear the crowd, you can hear the fight inside the ring, you can even hear the corner, but you cannot hear the announcers. It's a boxing channel that was on YouTube. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns on that, the first one, a couple of other fights, and I was like, the way that sound, it was unbelievable, that experience, and it was old fashioned. Remember, these fights took place in the 80s, in the early 80s. And so just to hear it from that point of view, I thought it was amazing. So, yeah, I don't know why they don't come up with a technology where we don't have to hear these fucking
Was that on the MSG network?
It could have been. It was something like Fight Nights. It was a channel on YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube. I thought it was.
Yeah. And they were playing all the fights without sound, and I would just take my phone, put it on my I would transfer it to my TV and watch these fights, and it was fucking unbelievable watching it like that.
Yeah, I remember there was a channel on YouTube too. I was watching it, and they had one fight in very good quality. It was from the 80s or 90s, and it had no commentators. And I said, "God damn, this is fucking fantastic."
Yeah, I'm sure that's the same one. I'm sure it's the same one, BDA.
But I didn't bookmark it or anything, so I don't know which one it is. But
you can also hear the crowd.
They even had Sanchez Gomez the same way. Oh man, that was epic watching it like that.
Yeah, you know what? Get rid of the commentators. I mean, listen, I like Paulie Malignaggi because he was a professional boxer, and he'll give you an angle. And I like Al Bernstein too, but for the most part, it's like I don't really need to hear. Listen, just give me the option to tune in and tune out. And if I want to, I'll go back to the commentators. I'll listen to what they have to say just to get an idea of maybe a different point of view. Then I'll go back to you know what I mean? It's not like I hate the commentators, but anyway, listen, that's just my opinion on that. In regards to the Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence fight. By the way, guys, call in. Don't forget the phone lines are open. Call in and give us your opinion on the potential Spence versus Garcia fight. Somebody says, here's another comment. Actually, I don't want to get into it. Hold on. I want to find something that talks about Danny Garcia. Okay, yeah, this guy says, we're real quick. Okay, this guy says, man, Danny lost the Peterson fight, in my opinion. If Lamont hadn't waited and messed up around on the outside for 6 rounds and pressured Garcia like he did in the last 6, it would have been a wash for Lamont Peterson. Danny hasn't beat anybody, in my opinion, and Spence is just starting fighting name fighters 2 years ago. He just started fighting big names 2 years ago, so this fight could go either way, although I tend to side with Spence. You know, that's the one that worries me. And it's always worried me when we talk about a potential Spence versus Garcia fight, the Lamont Peterson fight. Lamont Peterson was running around for the first 6 rounds, and then there were 2 rounds where he started putting pressure, and then he went back to running, and it wasn't until the last 2 rounds that he started to pressure Garcia. And in those 2 rounds, it seems like Garcia his energy went from 100 to like around 25. He got beat up in those last 2 rounds. His face was all busted up. I'm worried if Spence can come back and he's relatively fresh and can continue to do 80% of what he used to do before. And if Lamont Peterson was able to pressure Garcia that way, I can't imagine what Errol Spence is going to do to him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he would
good.
He would be definitely way more prepared to fight Spence. I mean, I still would pick Spence to beat him. Don't get me wrong, because I think Spence is the better overall fighter, boxer. You know, I think he's a better boxer, and I think he's a slightly better fighter than Danny Garcia. So, hey man, we'll find out. If they're talking about him, they must feel confident that they're ready to take on that fight. You would just hate to find out that he's a little bit, you know, still damaged, and Danny will be the one that will let the world know, yeah, he's not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Style wise, it's an interesting fight. It's like a good collision in the ring because these 2 guys are coming forward, a righty and a lefty, and this guy ain't taking no step back in the Spence like Thurman did against Danny. So they're, you know, Spence is not necessarily like fleet-footed. He comes in with both hands. So yeah, it'd be a good collision in the ring style-wise.
And that's another fight that people kind of over-exaggerated was Lamont Peterson, Danny. I mean, maybe you could give it to Lamont Peterson. Maybe.
But the guy ran for like
fucking ran rounds. For like 6 rounds, man.
No, but
I guess for like 10 rounds.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if he, you know, like some people like to say, he clearly lost that fight. Like, nah.
Well, they said there's a tape recorder of Garcia whispering to Pearson that I lost the fight.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true about him whispering, but I will say those last 2 rounds, he did push Garcia back, and Garcia seemed like he ran out of steam. Now, again, could have been an off night for him. You never know. Lamont Peterson at that stage in his career, he was no joke. So, you know, it's not like I'm going to fault Danny Garcia, but I'm just saying style-wise, Errol Spence is a bigger and much better version of Lamont Peterson. So that could prove to be quite problematic. Also, by the way, I see we got Jimmy on the line. Jimmy, are you there?
What's up, you fucking mental patients?
Hey, good to have you on board.
Where's my meds?
What's going on, man? Fucking enough with the lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, about Spence, man. Listen, my thing is this. Even Mickey Garcia against Danny Garcia, I take Mickey Garcia. I think he would fucking be able, because like fucking Heyman, stole my quote to him in a DM. Fucking, I told him Danny Garcia couldn't cut off a ring with a bulldozer.
Oh.
That fucking dude has no ability to cut off the ring. When's the last time we've seen a wrinkle from that zip ahead? When's the last time we've seen a significant win? He left his power at 140. Fucking please, man. The dude's a has-been. It really never was. Not since Matisse. And that was 7 years ago. I just think fucking he's all wrong. I mean, Spence has got length. That's the one thing. Spence got that length on the jab. He doesn't utilize it enough. But when he, stretches out, BDA, you pointed out how he adds length to his jab in your video. And that's Danny's kryptonite because he's so one-dimensional. Fucking prod, set you up for that left hook. Just keep going away from that fucking hook, and you know what I mean? He's not going to do nothing. The fact he hasn't hurt anybody, and God knows when, with the right hand besides Rod Selka.
He got knocked out Granados.
Yeah, with the left, though. Caught him with the left. It was the left that did the damage, and I'm just saying Spence is definitely good enough to fucking... He's just going to eat him up to the left. He's just going to roll out to his, to his left, away from Danny's left and pick him apart with jabs, and Danny will do his same frustrated, because again, tough as fucking a $2 steak. And don't get me wrong, but that kid's as bag as a fucking stupid as a bag of rocks. And he'll just not be able to figure it out, and it'll be a boring fight. It'll probably be a little sloppy. I doubt Spence will stop him. If he does, kudos to him, because nobody's ever stopped Danny. But
well, he got the advantage in the jab. He got the advantage in the jab. That's right. But I think it'll be more like Spence. He does have to set himself to punch also, because he hits hard with both hands to belt him with the right and the left. And Danny Garcia, well, he's very front foot heavy. So I think it'd be kind of like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots type of fight. It'd be interesting to watch. I don't think it'd be boring, but good points about the length.
I don't think Spence is going to hang in there. I don't think he's going to try to stand in the park. You're not going to stand, with a hooker, because that's one thing Danny has is power, although he really hasn't shown it since 140. But again, this fight would be, I would say, all right. And I'm talking, strictly as a fan. I'm not talking about Spence taking on anything like that. I'm talking as a fan. If it was on Showtime, that'd be one thing. In fact, I have to pay for a Showtime subscription. Sucks dick. But the fact they're going to try to sell that thing for $75, when's the last time Danny Garcia has done anything to deserve to be on a pay-per-view?
Well, that's what
that's
what I wanted to ask you.
It's a fucking joke.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Jimmy. Right now, the by the way, there's it sounds like you got some bottles or something in the background. What's I don't know.
Really? I don't.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's it. You are you wearing a wire? A wire.
Oh yeah, it was hitting my shirt, I think.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's got a wire.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was rubbing. It stopped, right?
Yeah, it stopped.
Okay, I was hitting my shirt. Sorry.
You wearing a wire,
guys,
kid?
Hey, BDA, just real quickly, if I may, because I got to take off, bro.
Right.
I'm fucking bouncing back between you and Ring IQ. I got to go do some shit, though. I got to go talk to somebody. But here's what's going to happen. If Spence is anything above 75%, he's going to beat the dog shit out of Danny Garcia, and he's going to be the first man to stop him. I'll talk to you guys next time, bro. Take care.
Take it easy, Jimmy.
All right, take it easy, kid.
Thank you for being on, man. Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Jimmy, it seems like they got two options right now. Showtime, that is. I mean, the PBC, they got Showtime, they got Fox Sports, and they got pay-per-view. Fox Sports, they can't afford to pay Danny Garcia and Errol Spence the fees that they would want for that fight, correct?
Yeah, because he's got he gets that, I guess, the flat fee. Somebody said it's supposed to be $50 million every year. Even if it is, he's going to spread that out over 10 fights. So yeah. No, I mean, you figure Danny's Spence is going to want 8 to 10. I would imagine he's going to ask. I don't know what kind of money he's actually going to get, but that pay-per-view is just not going to. I don't think it's going to do big numbers.
I don't think people are understanding what's happening in the world. They're not going to get that money. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's good to aim for it, but you're not getting that money.
Spence, what he flipped the car over? He hasn't done anything. I understand he's a comeback fight, but Danny, fuck, has he done? What has he done to even deserve to be on a headline? Never mind the fuck. Just rehashing the same welterweights. It's just on rinse and repeat.
I don't mind this fight. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't mind
it. Pay for $75 though?
No, I'm not paying no $75.
That's what I'm saying though, right? As fans, that's what it affects us.
Yeah, but in terms of Danny Garcia never got in the ring with Errol Spence. In terms of that sense, I kind of like this fight. I'm kind of
there's questions, right? We're going to see if Spence can hurt him. That's what I really want to see.
And not only that, because
if Spence's power is true, he's going to really he should
and
rock
not only
him,
that,
like
Jimmy,
Johnny Boyd said.
And here's another thing, Jimmy. We never know when Styles makes matches kicks in. You just never know. It's one of these things where we go into a fight and we're like, we look at the styles, and I think we all here are pretty qualified to talk about boxing and how a fight might turn out. I think we're all qualified as fans, just like everybody in the chat has their own fucking opinion, right? Mm-hmm. So it could be one of these fights where we overlook something, and of course, I always want to see that, even if it's against my guy. Okay, that's because I'm more of a boxing fan than I am a fan of a fighter. I like the styles of boxing and the different styles, right? So if these things can happen. That's why I like this fight, and I'm kind of confident if it's true. that as a person who likes Spence, that he's coming from a place where I think that he's pretty confident he can come back. Where is he getting this confidence that he could come back and beat guys like Danny Garcia? I'm not sure. I don't, obviously I'm not in his camp. I don't have no insider information.
Maybe if he survived the car accident, recognize that he thinks he's invincible.
I mean, that could be true.
Danny's last fight.
Then he saw Danny's last fight, right? Against a guy who was like, which I agree on one thing. I agree with one thing. I think it was Gonzalo who said this a while back about the guy that Danny fought. He said that guy lives for boxing. It's really hard sometimes, man. I think people forget that when you're fighting a guy that trains just as hard as you, a lot of times if you look at the sequences of action, nobody's getting the best of nobody. It's that 2, 3, 4 sequence where one guy gets the best. If you get about 3 to 4 sequence when another guy's getting the best of you, that's obviously not a good thing. But if you look at most exchanges, when you're talking about guys who live in the gym, it's almost a standstill. It's usually always a standstill. Nobody gets everybody's feet lands. Both opponents' feet land in the perfect spot. They're throwing punches at the same time. One might get a little edge over the other. That's boxing. So this kid.
That's excellent points.
Yeah. So this kid is, he's a 135 pounder. He's really a nobody, but he might have been ready for this fucking fight. Like I'm ready for everything that Danny Garcia brings. And, he still lost, but, obviously it doesn't look good on Garcia's part. But I understand where people are coming from. But go ahead.
Well, can I say something, though?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just say something real quick about that, because that's a very good point that you made, Recognize. And it's something that you articulated very well, because it's something that I've been trying to say for a while now about how there's levels in boxing, and people seem to think that, a guy like Mayweather, he's good because he's able to dominate 90% of his opponents, and everybody else is crap. Now, you don't understand how hard it is to dominate a guy who trained just as hard, and sometimes maybe even harder than you did, and dominate him for the most part of the fight, for the larger part of the fight. But also, Apology Man came up with a good point earlier. He said, if we're going to give Errol Spence crap for not being able to stop Mikey Garcia, we got to give Danny Garcia a little bit for not being able to stop Ivan Radcash, who was coming up from lightweight, and, okay.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's right. He didn't stop Redcalf, did he?
No, he couldn't, man. No, he couldn't. What the fuck was that laugh, man?
Very sinister laugh.
Yeah, very sinister,
like
elfish.
Disappointed. I'm a father to a son. I'm so shocked at what he did. I just have to laugh it off.
He laughed like the guy from Karate Kid 1 where he says, Johnny's going to do the body bag.
Fuck
Danny's problem is, man, the kid he's not like Jimmy said, he's like fucking like his feet are like drowning in cement or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but that
he also doesn't have.
When I saw him live, we all like to think that we can solve the problem. I think I see what the problem is with the kid. I think I've mentioned this to you several times, BDA. The kid is a natural lefty. He should have. Somebody should have trained him to fight on the orthodox stance.
Yeah, well, his
that
father
gives him power, right? Obviously, if he's planting his feet well in the delivery, he's got all his weight behind his.
There's guys who've done that, Gonzalo. Don't get me wrong. There's guys. Look, Cotto is a natural lefty. Trinidad, another one. He was a natural lefty.
De La Hoya.
De La Hoya was another one, but these guys have bounce on their feet.
Hoya?
De La Hoya.
De La Hoya compartiendo un jumbo.
Danny's fucking out running his sister's, music career and shit in his barbershop. He's just not hungry. He just that Redcalf man, I think stopped by a couple of people too. It's not like he hasn't been stopped. Think about it, right? When's the last time Danny Garcia? It was Matisse, right? That was the last serious victory of that kid's career.
Yeah, but Jimmy, I'm surprised that you're selling. I'm surprised that you're selling Danny Garcia short that way, because, you can see he's got ability. He can. Okay, he's not a huge puncher at 147, but the guy can crack. He's never been stopped. He's fought the best and never been completely dominated. He's not gonna. Especially if Errol Spence is not 100%. it could turn into a bit of a crackling fight.
Could.
Yeah, it'd be a mistake to disregard Garcia's power.
No, I think
because that's what he's looking for. He's looking to be methodical, and if you try to like take this guy out, if you're Spence and you just try to go to town on Garcia, you're gonna give him the moment to counter you back in those sequence of punches you were mentioning. When you do the same thing at the same time, you know he's gonna hit you back because he's so methodical that he's looking for that one perfect shot. Maybe not necessarily an extra gear, but you're gonna get your shot in there if you're Danny Garcia. And it'd be a mistake to disregard his power.
I just think I don't think Spence is going to stop him. I just don't, because Danny's, like I said, is top as a $2 steak, but he's also smart. So Spence is half the fight everybody puts him up to be, which I think he is. I think that long jab, I think it's going to be a whitewash. I think he's going to pick Danny apart all night, and then he's going to get that frustrated look, go back with his little puffy eyes from getting pelted by jabs. And he'll follow him around the ring. I mean, has he ever cut off a ring? Has he ever seen a wrinkle? Has he ever set a trap?
And Jimmy, I think that comes
you
from
know?
He's not. Jimmy, I think that comes from he's not standing in his natural stance. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But when I was watching him, I was looking at a guy. Because look, I'm not. I wasn't never at that level of being a pro or anything like that. But I know what it's like to switch stance, and it took a long time for me to be fluid, second nature, switching stance. I was a natural righty, and I fought. I turned southpaw because of the quote unquote the natural power. Because the lefty, if you look at the lefty versus righty when the fights happen, the one that's like more, I guess, front foot dominant would be the lefty. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why I did it. But that didn't come for, you know, that took some time to get that position, you know, right. And it takes for a lot of fighters, right? It does. But for some reason, I think Danny Garcia never learned how to bounce off his powerful, his more power side, which is the left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he ever learned how to bounce a little bit, how to slide a little bit into position. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He just kind of like, you know, just has his feet like he's fucking gripping it. You know, you like picture your toes trying to grab the floor. Like he looks like he does that all the time.
Well, he's got 6 toes. He's got 6 toes, actually. That's why he's so planted on his. He grips the ground.
I was going to say. Yeah, he's got 6 toes, the freak. But on top of that, I don't know, man. Listen. It's just not going to happen, man. He just isn't good enough. He's had so many opportunities to, you know, do something different. I don't know. I'm just so not impressed with him anymore. He is tough, but I don't know. I think fucking Spence should be able to pick him apart with his length.
Well, listen, I want to get more down to the style breakdown and also the financial aspects of what's going to happen to boxing once this whole COVID thing slows down. I'm going to go to the phones, but first I got to say real quick hi to Revolucion. Revolucion, are you there? Hey, thank you for being on Revolucion. Hold on, let's go to the phone calls real quick because we've had somebody on the line waiting here. 954, you're on the air. 954.
I'm on the air again. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I got an AirPod in, so I want to make sure that it was working right. So I picked up when you guys were talking about Danny Garcia, and there's a lot of layers to Danny Garcia. They're good and they're bad. I mean, we start down at the base level. When we first started to see him, he was approaching his prime, and he was getting taken to the extreme in a first fight with a 37-year-old natural junior featherweight in Eric Morales. Now, he clearly beat Morales in the rematch, but he was taken to the limits in that first fight. You fast forward, he does done some other good wins, but then I think what was the guy's name, Herrera? His last fight at junior welterweight, a lot of people thought he lost that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then he fights Lamont Peterson, and someone said he's never been dominated. He may have never been dominated, but he sure was embarrassed in that fight. And that's against Peterson, who's a natural lightweight, if I am correct. He's at least a natural junior welterweight, just like neither one of them were real welterweight. So let me just say that as a fact. Where Peterson started his career, I might be mixing him up with his brother. But he wasn't a big puncher. He still had Danny on his heels most of the night. But then he takes on 2 heavier-handed guys where he used a little of his shiftiness against Porter and Thurman. And even though he clearly lost those fights, he was competitive in those fights. So there's your plus and your minus on the man. He's hot and cold. And then, of course, PBC does their lovely front running and promotion in 2015, and then his career turned stagnant roughly around 2016. He's been fighting almost once a year. And like you said, Reddick, I believe is how you say his name, was moving up from lightweight. He wasn't ranked anywhere in the top 10, and that somehow mysteriously got Danny Garcia to jump Sean Porter from number 2 to number 1 contender in the WBC. Well, and on a side note, he was already number 1 for Bud's title at WBO, and it's almost like, yeah, we'll take on this guy from lightweight, and we'll just ignore Bud and go from mandatory over to Spence because that fight's easier to make. But I mean, the synopsis is one gentleman over here saying that he thinks it's going to be a blowout. There's no reason not to think that if Danny Garcia doesn't come overly motivated. If he comes in thinking that it's going to be an easy fight because of the car wreck or something like that, it could be an Eric Morales type performance. And if he does that against Spence, wreck or no wreck, Spence was a junior middleweight in the amateurs, he should walk right through Danny Garcia.
That's a good point, man. That's a good point because,
cold fighter.
Yeah, listen, we don't know how Spence is going to come back. That's the main question. That being said, Danny Garcia,
you're right.
He's had a lot of close fights, right? But that's what they've been close. He's always been competitive. He's never been blown out. Now, if anybody can blow him out, it's probably Errol Spence. But then again, Errol Spence has also said that he wanted to outbox Mikey Garcia. But then if you rewatch the fight, he clearly tried to stop Garcia late and he couldn't. And now the excuse is, well, it's because I had to lose a lot of weight for that one. Then with the Sean Porter fight, he says he also had to lose a lot of weight, but he also said that, it's because I wanted to fight his fight. So we don't know what's truth or not. Or we don't know if he's making excuses for his inability to stop these guys. And if he isn't lying and he's fighting their fights, is he going to fight Garcia's fight just to prove a point?
Well, Spence hasn't knocked out anyone top level. We have to remember that. So how good is his power?
It's good, but he's got to cut the weight. So it's true what he said on both occasions. He had to cut a lot of weight, but nothing would be any different in this one. He's still going to have to cut a lot of weight. And since Danny cannot be knocked out real easy, I mean, he's not going to knock this guy out, and it's going to go into the later rounds. And the same thing's going to happen again. The depletion of the weight's going to...
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Plus, he's fighting at a higher level now. He's not fighting at fights that are under the radar that VADA don't give a shit about because they can't make any money on the fine. That's why they always go after the big fights. So he's not on the sauce anymore. His nipples are gone down, so he's lost half the fucking, probably lost power from that, either physically plus a little emotionally. I mean, come on. The minute he starts getting heavy testing, suddenly his power gets suspect to me because he should have stopped fucking Garcia.
Yeah, he should have.
You know what I mean?
He
and
really
never mind
should.
the fact that and then this DSG, he's going to come in, he's going to wing big shots, and nothing takes you fucking wind out of your sails like throwing big punches and missing. I'll tell you, get you sucking wind quick.
He doesn't have like that Terry Norris explosive power. He's got the break you down heavy-handed type of power. Kind of like a Julio Cesar Chavez, but in the welterweight division, where he can belt you to the right and to the liver, particularly to the body. But is that
Gonzalo, you would know, bro.
Power?
Let me ask you, Gonzalo.
Yeah.
I just was going to ask you, dude, right? Because to your point, what fighter do you think, like you just said, he breaks people down? What fighter do you think would come up to Oscar at his peak, 2 weight classes below, and Oscar wouldn't have stopped, right? You see what I'm saying? I don't put Spence at that level. I'm not saying you do, but what you know what I'm saying? Like he has that power, but if he actually had that concussive stopping power, Mickey Garcia should have been the one he stopped.
Mickey Garcia, he hurt him to the, but if his plan is to break you down and he's getting weaker as the fight progresses because he had to cut all that weight, so he's not as strong in the latter part as in the beginning. But you can't knock out Garcia because he's got an iron chin. And you're not necessarily breaking them down at the pace that you should because you're getting tired as the fight progresses, like I'm reiterating. How would that pan out for Errol Spence?
Well, hold on. Let's get to the caller. Let's get to the caller because he's still on line. Caller, you want to say something?
So when you're talking about guys that moved up 2 weight classes against Oscar De La Hoya as a reference, Camacho didn't move up 2 weight classes, but he did move up. He was a natural junior lightweight, and neither Trinidad nor Oscar De La Hoya could knock him out. So sometimes it's the relevance of how good the fighter's chin is. But in regards to Spence, he and Keith Thurman have totally different fighting styles, but they have something in common. Their power looked unreal when they were prospects. It looked pretty real when they were contenders, and then when they became champions, people were starting to take it better. Now, Tommy Hearns, his power didn't change. Felix Trinidad, his power didn't change. These guys were pushed quickly up the ranks to the title ranks because of the amateur background and their pedigree, and now that they're starting to fight on even levels, they got to work hard, or else in Thurman's case, his power's not existent. Given Mikey Garcia was never really been hurt that I've seen, but he's going against a much bigger man, yet he still took these punches. Now, some say it was the weight drain for Spence, but the other side that has to be looked at is that Mikey Garcia had around 40 fights. He has close to 40 fights. He had a long amateur background, and he comes from the Garcia family. So he's a smart guy who knows how to survive. That's not a total knock against Spence, even though he still should have been able to stop him late. Mikey does know how to survive. Danny knows how to survive, and Danny's a smart guy. But at the end of the day, is Spence's power real, number one, because he hasn't really got a knockout of a quality opponent yet, in my opinion. Or two, is Danny kind of used up? Is he rusty? Hasn't been that active. He's 32 years old, and a long amateur career is not a real welterweight. So there's a kind of, without knowing how well Spence is going to recover from the car accident, let's say the car accident never happened. We still got Spence going the distance in his last 2 fights, one against Sean Porter, who I've said on this show before needed 20 rounds to beat a shoddy-chinned Julio Diaz. And so his power's not that real at welterweight. And then he goes the distance against the guy who turned pro at featherweight, and Mikey Garcia. So his power versus what Danny got left, those are our biggest questions, if I may say so, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Well, listen, we're going to have to watch out to see what happens because, again, Danny Garcia, he can crack. If you pressure him too much, he's not averse to countering. I mean, he doesn't mind getting hit just as long as he can launch one of those hooks of his, counter hooks, and catch you right on the chin. The only problem with him is he's not that active. So I think that's why, to a certain point, the Errol Spence camp or Al Heyman, whoever, decided, okay, look, let's make this fight because Danny Garcia doesn't have the best activity rate inside the ring. But he can crack, he's smart, he's fought the best, never really been blown out. So it's still a difficult fight for Errol Spence, man, no doubt about it. And
it's just on my mind that if you punch like Errol Spence, which is pretty hard, and you're chipping away at the other guy, I mean, is he gonna have the gas tank to finish the job off? Because he ain't hurting Garcia early, I think, to the chin. If he got any chance of hurting him, it's to the body. But does he have the gas tank? Just got to remember.
Also, Spence needs to set Garcia up because Garcia's defense in terms of blocking, the way he blocks shots is pretty good. His feet is not that good, but the way he blocks and then he looks for the counters off of that, Spence is going to be in trouble.
I think Spence is better suited for the 154-pound division. He got those 2 belts. He got to defend or relinquish, and he's looking for that Crawford fight. But I think he'd do a lot better. But would he be any different at 154 pounds than all those other guys that are life and death in each other?
I think he'd be stronger at 154 because the fact that he's spending half his camp treating them as fat camps. By his own admission, he's getting up to 185, 190, then he's having to drop down to 147. So he's not focusing on boxing. He's at a fucking fat camp.
And if you see every other fighter's career at the age of 30, they're going up in weight. I mean, they give Triple G a lot of shit because he fought like 19 times in one division. Look at this guy. He's fought his whole career, which has only been like a handful of fights. He ain't going up, okay. But has he really done anything at the welterweight? No, maybe it's time for him to move up and do something else at another division, but actually, become a multiple world champion in different divisions because you ain't defending it too many times in one. He's only defended his belt like twice, right?
Yeah, these freaking guys, they're so lucky that they live in these modern times because if Errol Spence couldn't make weight back in the day, he'd have to be fighting at middleweight. But now there's that in between division that he can do, some nice work in. So these guys are spoiled for sure. Caller.
The day before weight too makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen, caller, we're gonna move on, but anything else you want to say before we move on?
Just one quick thing. The people, both Spence and Thurman in the amateurs fought at 69 kilograms. That's 152 pounds. So as teenagers, they were already fighting at junior middleweight, and then they trained their way down to 147 in the pros. And now, like you said, they're both approaching or at or over 30.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's time for them to move up. I mean, like someone said that some people out there, not Triple G for staying in one weight class for 19 title defenses. Go find me another guy that gets 19 title defenses.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Before
point,
you knock
man.
a guy for that, find me another person that gets 19 title defenses versus a guy that was a weight class higher in the amateurs and now only has like 5 title defenses and hasn't even unified the division he's at yet. You might as well move up. Thank you for letting me call again. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thank you for the call and thank you for the great points. All right. Listen, this whole thing with Spence, man, I mean, we got to keep things in perspective here because some people, like I said, I'm reading the comments here on certain websites, and there's people really giving Spence shit for taking this fight. There was one guy that was saying, I can't find the article now here, I mean, the comment, but some guy was saying, Spence is ducking about Crawford again. I'm thinking, man, he just came off a freaking accident. He hasn't sparred in a while. He's still not sparring now. We don't know how he's going to look in there, but people are already shitting on him.
Yeah, no.
Well, BJ, if you put Bud Crawford in with Garcia, do you think he would beat him easily? They're on the same level, so yeah, Crawford's a bit better, but Garcia ain't that the bigger. There's not as big as a gap as people think.
I don't blame him for not taking on Crawford now. That'd be silly. Crawford to me is his biggest test, so you know what I mean? That's the big money fight. So you can't blame him not taking him, right? But I mean, I think as a whole, prior to the action, he absolutely was avoiding him like the fucking plague. You know what I mean? He was social distancing big time from fucking Crawford as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, and that's the thing. If you're not you want to bust somebody's stones for taking, listen, if somebody hangs around one division the whole career, fine. If they're trying to call everybody out, and don't tell me there wasn't anybody at middleweight, especially who held the belt, that G didn't offer 100 times to fight. He wanted to dominate, wanted to unify that division. But because of fucking Billy Joe Saunders had kept that belt hostage for years. So there's a difference. Like with Spence, he's obviously not trying. Oh, who do you want to fight after fucking Garcia? Well, I like to fight either Pacquiao or I forget what else he said, but not mentioning Crawford.
Yeah, and you know what, Jimmy? That advantage in Spence is taller, but the advantage in length, that he would be giving that up because although Spence is taller, Crawford, I believe, has longer arms, and he's also a southpaw. He's ambidextrous. He'd be giving away that too.
Yeah, by the way, Jimmy, I can still hear like a grating sound coming from your end, like you're grinding a cap bottle or something, a bottle cap.
All right, let me check.
Yeah, please. But you know what? In regards to Danny Garcia, here's something else. Some people say, well, Garcia, they don't consider him a puncher. I mean, a boxer. They don't consider him a boxer because he rarely throws straight shots, but he controls the distance very well. Like against Redkach, okay, he couldn't knock him out, but he showed he was on another level than Redkach. Like you could tell Redkach was trying to figure out how to set his shots, how to get something going, and he couldn't do it. Garcia was in control of that fight. I'd have to rewatch it again. Maybe he did lose composure a little bit late in the fight, but for the most part, Garcia is a good boxer. He knows what he's doing in there. And so if Errol Spence can dominate him like he did with Mikey Garcia, I'm going to be very impressed. But again, Errol Spence has shown that he's a bit of a lunatic, and sometimes he'll just want to brawl when he could really be boxing. So that's something
I think Errol Spence is susceptible. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's Redkach. It sounds like you're saying Redkach, like Redkach.
Subash in the chat room says it's Red Cat. I don't know if he's kidding or not. I don't know. Listen, go ahead, apology. Go ahead.
Like whatever. Spence is really as well. Like once his prime defense is pretty easily.
You're breaking up, apology. Could you repeat that, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, please repeat what you said because I couldn't hear you.
me if me from this, and he's pretty open defensively. Like poor hit him. So I'm certain Garcia's gonna hit him, and we'll hit him pretty easily once he figures them out. Trust me.
Yeah, listen, both guys have good, solid defense when they want to use it, but they're there to be found. Like you guys were saying, Garcia seems to plant his feet very well to get that power, but it also makes him susceptible to straight shots because it's like you're fighting a big machine, right? Like a big robot, for example, and you're on a quick motorcycle. If you spin around him, he needs to set himself to be able to let go of his artillery. So there, Mauricio Herrera did that to a T in that fight. Keith Thurman, to a certain degree too, with a lot of side-to-side movement, was able to offset him. Spence can fight from the outside as he showed against Garcia. But here's one thing you guys tell me, man. Because he's been saying that, I wanted to brawl with Errol Spence. With Sean Porter. As Spence said that he wanted to brawl with Porter. But if you look at the first 3 rounds, he was trying to do the same thing he did against Mikey Garcia. And then once he realized he couldn't do it, he started to brawl. So maybe in a way he did try to brawl. But what do you guys think? Do you think he really did try to brawl from the get-go? Or do you guys think he wanted to box a little bit? And once it didn't work out against Porter, he said, fuck this, I'm gonna get into a bit of a war with him.
Brawl with Porter or with Garcia?
With Porter.
I actually feel like Apology did. He lost that fight, but he did get the flash knockdown. As far as what you're talking about, I can't really say. I have to go back and watch it. I just thought that Porter won that fight.
You talking about the Porter who Porter versus Spence?
Yeah, because Spence said in 2 interviews. Now he said that I wanted to brawl with Porter. I wanted to beat him at his own game. But if you watch the first 3 rounds, it could have been simply a case of filling out rounds. But I saw him trying to outbox Porter, and then Porter would not have it.
Me too.
Porter wouldn't have it.
He was clearly losing that fight though, BDA. The first 6 rounds, I had Porter up maybe 5 rounds or 4. Right?
Yeah, you could.
I made against Spence 3 rounds, but go ahead.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think that fight was super close. When I watched it live, I scored it for Porter. Watched it again, pretty much the same, but I think you could give Porter an extra round, and for me, like it would have been 6-6. Porter Spence wins with the extra knockdown. I mean, it could have went either way. He took a beating in that fight, and he gave a beating back. That's what impressed me, and I agree with what you said, BDA, that he tried to outbox him in the first, the feel-out rounds, and Porter wasn't having it. That's why I say, I hope Errol Spence is not damaged goods, because he showed me a lot in that fight. I was really impressed, and I knew it was going to be a good fight. Look, I'm not Nostradamus. I knew it was going to be that kind of fight. Where Porter will force the action, will force him to fight, and that's why it was going to be a good-ass fight.
You know what? Most people... Jeez, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's just, I don't know. It's fucking robot. I think Gaia 500 was trying to hack my computer. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes. Okay. I was just going to say real quick that Errol Spence... people in the chat room are divided. We're going to read you a couple of comments. Hulk Hogan says, Danny beat Porter. He says Garcia beat Porter, which I don't know about that. Subhash Kunwar says, I gave Porter 11 rounds. I don't know if he's talking about the Spence fight or the Danny Garcia fight.
Jesus Christ, I don't know what fight he's talking about.
I don't know which one they're talking about either, but because I don't know if he's talking about the Spence fight or the Porter fight. I will say
if you have 11 rounds, are you saying clear 11 rounds, like clearly, or like they were all close and you gave him 11 rounds? So
I'm trying to find out. He's gonna write us soon, but in the Porter versus Spence fight, a lot of people, remember, we were saying that it was going to be a tough fight, but there were a lot of people around, especially LDBC people, they were saying, Spence is going to beat Porter easy. If you went to the comment section of certain videos, people kept saying, man down. We were saying, look, Sean Porter has never given anybody an easy fight. Most people were fooled by the Ugas fight because it was very close, and Porter decided, you know what, instead of getting into a brawl with this guy, who's a good counterpuncher, I'm going to box him from the outside. Now, it was very close. It was a risky maneuver, but it ended up working. You had to know that he wasn't going to fight Spence the same way. But people got hypnotized by it. Garcia is not gonna jump in like Porter did against Spence. He's gonna stay on the outside. He's gonna try to counter everything that Spence throws at him. So it could be a scenario like Jimmy says, where Spence is just jabbing him from the outside, never letting Garcia get set. I'm curious to get you guys' opinion on that. Do you think it's gonna be easy then, or do you think Garcia is gonna? Okay, my question. My question is this: do you think Garcia can step it up if he starts getting outboxed?
Yeah, well, is that jab hard enough to bother Garcia with that good chin he has, to where he's still going to be able to not walk through? Is he going to still want to pursue getting in, closing in the distance to land his shot? This is Garcia. I think he can walk through Spence's jab.
Yeah, I think the jab would be a problem early, but if he keeps, if he sticks to that one game plan, of course, Danny Garcia is a pro, bro. He can make an adjustments on that. He could, I think I think the jab could be useful if, and I have no reason to doubt that Spence will mix it up. He'll mix up the jab, and throw his left and use both hands. If he does that, but he does it from the mindset of using the jab to fight off the jab, yeah, he could be very successful. But if
once he starts throwing both hands, once he starts throwing both hands recognized, then he's also susceptible to Danny's no-look left hook, right?
Well, yeah and no at the same time, because look, what you never go into a fight, at least the way watching boxing and doing it, you never go into a fight saying, if I throw my power punches, that means I can get hit. That's the wrong game plan. I thought that Tyson Fury did that in the first fight against Wilder, and you saw when he said, "Fuck that, I'm just bringing it to this dude." Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you saw the difference. You don't go in there thinking that. What you do is you speed up the punches. Yeah, you speed it up. You try to play that in and out game. But if he tries to just do it with the jab, Gonzalo, I agree with what you said. You could see Garcia making the adjustments, getting on the inside, and then forcing Spence to do something else. Yeah.
It's interesting because people bring up in the chat room, they bring up the Herrera fight. Alex Stancato says Herrera gave Garcia hell with that jab. And that's true. That is very true. He was busting his nose up with that jab. Then again, that was 6 years ago. And I haven't seen anybody do that.
It's a different style from Spence, in my opinion.
Right.
Spence is good back and forwards. Herrera's good at circling.
Yeah, but the point remains, though. The point remains, that jab from Spence... by the way, hold on. Let's get something straight here. We talked about Garcia's reach. According to BoxRec, he's 5'8" tall, and he's got a 68.5-inch reach. Okay, that's him.
Yeah,
that's it. Now Errol Spence, supposedly, I think he's 5'9". Hold on, let me confirm here.
Yeah, he looked about 5'9" when I saw him.
5'10.25", I think, 72-inch reach. Might be mistaken about the reach.
BoxRec has him as 5'9.5". With a 72-inch reach, and Garcia has a
5'9.5" BDA.
Yes, 5'9.5".
Yeah. I'm telling you, I saw him in person. Yeah. That's just about right. He's 5'9", 5'9.5".
Okay,
which is my height.
Yeah, so I definitely think he'll try to box Garcia.
And he's got a pretty long reach. He's got a pretty long reach from the way I understand, right? Like about 71, 2, 3 maybe.
Errol Spence, he's got, according to BoxRec, it's 72 inches.
Yeah.
So he's 3.5 more. So it's 3.5 more than Danny Garcia.
And according to he knows how to extend that jab too. He knows how to extend it. Something that you talked about. So it could be a very useful jab. But I still agree that he can't do that for the whole fight against a strong guy like Danny Garcia. You can't do that for the whole entire fight.
But why not though? Why not? Because Sean Porter is an athletic guy. He's a football type guy. He'll rush you, and he didn't give a fuck in that Spence fight. He knew he had to do that. Garcia, I've never seen him do that. I've never seen him a fire under his ass where he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna pressure this guy and just jump on him." I have never seen him do it.
Can he jab and use lateral movement the whole time? Once he throws the jab and just use lateral movement, or take a couple of steps back, can he do that the whole fight?
Spence?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did it to a
Against
certain
Garcia.
degree again. Yeah, I guess Mikey Garcia to a certain extent he did it.
But he's gonna run into the same problem. Are you gonna box or are you gonna punch? Because if he ain't putting rounds in the bank in order to chip away, he's not gonna be able to stop him or hurt him. So he might. His best chance of beating Garcia is to put on a boxing clinic and win more rounds in the bag.
Spence is a dog. He's gonna mix it up. He's gonna mix it up once he, because that's how he is. He's a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
He's a boxer and a fighter.
He's a boxer puncher.
He likes to mix it up. Exactly. He's a boxer puncher. It's more accurate. It's what he is.
Yeah, people think we don't like Spence here because we've made fun of Wilder, and so they
I
think.
don't know how many times I've said it. I like Spence, bro.
Me too, man. I mean,
I like that guy as a fighter.
That's right, man. I'm crossing my fingers that he can come back okay from this accident.
I don't care about what he says outside the ring. I really don't care about that. I really don't care.
He did call Bradley a coon.
Yeah, like you see shit like that.
A bit of a low IQ retard. I don't like the way he speaks. So,
well, wait. When did he call Bradley a?
Yeah, he did call Bradley a coon.
But when?
Do you remember BDA? We did a stream about this.
Maybe I wasn't there. Though. That sounds like something
BDA,
Butcher would.
He did because he said that Terrence Crawford wants. Look, I believe Bradley was doing the ESPN pom shaking, right?
They're also really good friends, him and Crawford.
Right, and Crawford and Bradley are really good friends, and he called him a coon. He said, "You never wanted to fight me," all this stuff, and I disagreed with all of it. But yeah, Timothy Bradley was a little over exaggerating. Like Terrence Crawford's just this warrior, and he's like, "Warriors, come out and play,"
By the way,
people doing that whole bit.
SSB in the chat says, BDA, you were there on that stream. I remember. Listen, we do so many streams. I forget what we talk about. But yeah, now I'm looking here at Google.
BDA, you're getting old. Come on.
No, I'm not getting old. It's just my mind. I can only compartmentalize so much stuff. But I'm looking out here, the results here. And yeah, people's Errol Spence clowns Tim Bradley for scapegoating. Errol Spence to Tim Bradley, shut your coon ass up. I mean, yeah, so there you go. So there is. Yeah,
who does Bradley work for? Which network does he work for?
ESPN.
ESPN, okay.
He's a top rank guy.
Okay, that was a good thing what he said because nobody was ever like vocal saying something about. Well, he works for ESPN. Okay, I don't think they mentioned Crawford's name too much on PBC.
Well, didn't Errol Spence complain that when he went over to I forget which the zone card, and they put him next to Terrence Crawford or something like that? And apparently he complained like, "Hey man, why you putting me next to this motherfucker?" Or I forget which fight. No, was it Charlo or I forget somebody. Somebody got seated.
Was it the Wilder Fury fight or that time that Terrence Crawford confronted him? And I think Crawford fans over exaggerated that he punked Spence. He ain't punked Spence.
You know what? I just gonna have to say something about the zone. I like that the zone. They bring other fighters from other networks and they put their clips and they interview them. That's interesting. Like the PBC won't mention the ESPN guys or the zone, but the zone will mention and even bring in the other guys.
Terrible. Yeah, PBC is terrible at acknowledging other fighters. They just are. They if you're not signed with them, they're not that good at that stuff, bro.
They can't even like mention their names, right?
I mean, I saw something like that. Like it's just like you're being ridiculous, bro. Like I understand you have a kind of like a political beef with the other networks, but don't ignore a champion at the weight class.
That's bad for boxing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's BDA. I think you're talking about the time he confronted him, or he was complaining about Terrence Crawford sitting behind him in the Tyson Fury Wilder rematch.
I think it was this year, man. I think it was this year.
Yeah, so if it was this year, it was that one.
Okay. SSB 28 coming to the rescue again. He says, BDA, it was a Jose Ramirez versus Hooker fight where Crawford and Spence were sitting together. It was in Texas. Thank you. Yes, I believe that's true, SSB. It was at the Ramirez Hooker fight. And I think Spence complained about it. Hold on. You know what? When in doubt, let's Google the motherfucker. Errol Spence complains Crawford.
Yeah, because they brought him across the other side of the street.
Terence Crawford and Errol Spence agreed to a fight. Errol Spence okay, yeah. But this is according, again, Boxing News 24 is more like a blog than an actual, news site. But it says here, Errol Spence complains about his seating arrangement at Wilder Fury 2. He sounds like J-Lo. That sounds like something
there you
complain about.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, first of all, this guy, Chris Williams, again, I mentioned Chris Williams before. This guy hates Pacquiao and he hates Lomachenko. But so he starts off the article saying, superstar Errol Spence Jr. First of all, he ain't no superstar, man. I'm sorry. But he says, superstar Errol Spence Jr. posted on social media a photo of himself sitting next to top-ranked promoter Bob Arum and his stable fighters Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson last Saturday at the Wilder vs. Tyson Fury 2 fight. Oh, okay, now this is... Okay, hold on a second. Then he says...
You were right. It was this year. It was. Yeah, so it would have been that event.
But apparently that was a Photoshop. So, yeah, I don't know. Hold on a second. Yeah, go ahead.
At this stage, he's more infamous than famous because of the car wreck.
Well, I mentioned that in the video I did, which is that they did rub a lot of people the wrong way. What he said right after the accident, which is he was acting like he was a beast because he didn't get any injuries, and that again, like I said before, that could be indicative that he hasn't learned a lesson from what happened. But despite all the outside of the ring drama and his type of behavior, inside the ring is what I'm more interested to right now. And the guy likes to fight. There's no ifs and buts about it. The fact that he wants, or he seems to want to fight Danny Garcia so soon after the accident without a tune-up, just indicates to me why I like him inside the ring. Outside the ring, again, it's another another story. But inside the ring, the guy loves to fight.
Yeah. Even when he does interviews, he's always in fight mode. Like his mind is like, I go after my man, all that stuff, all those terms. I go after my man. I go for the kill. That's boxing talk. That's gym talk.
Mm-hmm.
So the kid, he's got a fighter's mentality.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And what I like about him is that he might say some stupid stuff, but I've never seen him in a confrontation with another boxer. You know what I mean? Like where they're pushing and shoving. I've seen Crawford, try to take a swing at Benavidez and almost ruining the fight. When he
I'm glad you brought that up. Like, something about Crawford that rubs me the wrong way, or at least with his fans. They try to make it look like he's the boogeyman and everybody's scared of him. If you go look at that confrontation between him and Spence, Spence held his own. First of all, he was there by himself. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
And he got up in Crawford's face, like, what you want to do, or not what you want to do. He's like, you easy work. He said it right to his face. So he wasn't scared. He just wasn't willing to commit to a question that was given to him. He's not willing to commit. He's playing the politics side. But in terms of like being afraid, the fuck out of here. He's not afraid of Terence Crawford.
The only thing that I really don't like about what he's doing is he's even come out and said that he's gonna fight Crawford, but when the time is right, and they're comparing themselves to Pacquiao and Mayweather, and for two reasons, I think this is wrong. Because I don't think they're on that level as far as fame wise, and if they're seeing it like that, it's gonna get overdrawn to where too much marination is gonna ruin it when these guys should be fighting in their prime.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's been the story of boxing in certain aspects so far, where some of these fights get over marinated. But to the point of Spence not being afraid. Spence is the type of guy, like, he gives me that Julio Cesar Chavez vibe where, when people used to go at him in the press conference, he would just laugh because he knew, what the fuck you doing? Like, we're going to box. We're not going to fight here. We're going to ruin and break our hands or break our faces and then ruin the fight. Errol Spence gives me that vibe. Crawford, on the other hand, when Benavidez pushed him and then Crawford came back and took a swing at him, that to me is dumb. It's very dumb because you're going to ruin a fight because a guy pushed you. Like, you're not on the streets anymore. That's why I keep telling people, it's like, if you're from the streets, it's like the Marines say, adapt, improvise, and overcome. You got to adapt yourself to your environment. If you're from the streets, okay, I understand. If somebody steps up to you, you got to take care of business. Otherwise, you become a target for everybody else. Same thing in prison. But guess what? If you're a professional boxer, you're not on the streets anymore. You're gonna act professional, and you take care of business in the ring, and that's what Errol Spence does. He doesn't like to talk outside. Well, he'll talk outside the ring, but he will actually take care of business inside the ring. He doesn't have to go out there and get into fist fights with people. Now, say what you want about his behavior of, getting into accidents and getting drunk. And by the way, every video I see of him dancing in a nightclub, he's dancing with dudes. That's also problematic. But the point is, I don't see him getting into brawls with people. So that's what I like about him. He wants to fight in the ring. Now, if he could relay this information to his good friend, the Charlos, who always seem to get into some sort of outside of the ring confrontation, whether it's with Tank Davis and Broner or whether it's Daniel Jacobs or Andrade, these guys love to bark.
Or getting their money stolen.
Yeah, getting their money stolen by
yeah,
friends, yeah.
They just don't have no. You know what it is with them? They don't have no mannerism. Like, this kid does. Spence has mannerisms. Like he makes a little stupid choices, but you can have a conversation with him, and where the Charlos, they're like jittery people. They're all up in your face. I'm the best. I'll fight. Like, you get tired of that. Like, fuck out my face. Spence
in the end, he was
like
pretty
that.
respectful. He was pretty respectful with Pacquiao too.
Yeah. That's the way to be, man. You're making millions of dollars. You're in better position than 99.9% of most people that want to be boxers or boxing. Okay, there's a good chance that most people not gonna have the chances that he has. You don't need to be fucking, being disrespectful. Like, what is that gonna get you eventually? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna like you.
That's one of the reasons I mentioned to BDA that I think that, and everybody listening, that I think he's willing to go into that fight because he needs the money. With everything that happened, the car wreck, the hospital, I don't know, not fighting in a long time. He needs to in the COVID, he needs a big paycheck. It's like high risk, but yeah.
He probably didn't get a stimulus check either. So
he probably did.
Yeah, but listen,
I think they get special pay, don't they? The boxers.
I don't know, man.
I mean, it all depends on their contract that they have with whatever broadcast or promoter.
For the stimulus, I think if you're a boxer, you can, whether you're a top 10 or if you're just like a professional, you can go apply for some type of help.
Yeah, by the way,
you probably could. Yeah, small business. You could say you're a small business as a boxer. You work for yourself.
Well, once you make a certain amount of money, aren't these guys told by their accountants, hey, start your own company? Just like, even if you don't actually have one, just start something with your name on it. So you put some money in there and then you can get some sort of tax. Yeah, all right. That's why we got the BDA company here. That's what That's
right. We're working on, we're building a headquarters in New York and Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's right. Trump Towers. That's where we're going to be setting up. It ain't cheap, but that's where your donations come into place, guys.
I'm gonna run the New York property.
That what's that Lambo or that car he was driving? If you're drinking and driving, would you be able to cash in on the insurance? No, huh?
I don't think so. No.
Oh,
I don't think so. You definitely not.
Yeah, no way, man.
That ain't chump change. That's almost like
first
$1
of all,
million
your
car.
insurance is going to drop you more than likely, and if you do get re-up for a reinsurance, that's going to show up, and you have to pay you're going to have to pay a lot.
All right, this is turning from the boxing debate arena to the boxing debate accounting episode. Let's talk about home equity. Let's talk about home equity loans, guys. What do you think about those?
Well, home equity loans, it can be tricky.
All right,
but you know what is an irony regarding real estate? How he flipped his car in front of a bar called the Knockout.
No kidding.
Where you could see the ring ropes on the camera from the video. On the film, there's like some ropes parallel to where he flipped his car. I thought that was kind of crazy. It's an irony.
It's a heck of a coincidence there. Then again, I don't believe in coincidences, so I'm going to be looking into this very closely. In terms of, you guys were talking about the fights. Yeah, there's some low-level fighters that have to be struggling from this whole inactivity thing. I know for a fact Andrew Cancio at 135, 130. He said that he's very grateful that, because people were telling him after he won a title, like, you can quit your job, and he said, no, I'm not going to quit it. And now he's happy he didn't quit it because he's part of the essential services staff. I think he repairs gas. I think it's something to do with gas. And he says, "Yeah, no, right now I'm still working, so I got some money coming in." Whereas other fighters, they work full time, they box full time, but they're not getting any fights. So you get the drill. So he's very happy with that. By the way, Apology Man just left. Shout out to Apology, and he says, "Oh, he donated with a super chat." He says, "I'm going to bed late here in the UK. Thanks for having me again, BDA. Also, everyone, don't be afraid to talk and protest the pandemic." The pandemic, he calls it. The pandemic. Yeah. Absolutely, Apology. Thank you for your contribution, man. And you have yourself a good night. He's probably going to the gym.
I agree with Apology, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, he's probably going to the gym. He's lying to us.
He's going. Well, I don't know if gyms are open over there. But hey, man, I saw a good sign, man. I saw a gym that I go to pass by it. They looked like they were getting ready to open. I don't know if that's what they were doing exactly, but it looked that way. So I'm kind of hoping that that's what it is.
And by the way, I mean, we got to at some point talk about this, but there was that guy. I forget what that. I'm gonna dig it up. But that one guy that was at the Trump press conference before it started, and he told one of the reporters, "Oh, you can take your mask off." This whole thing. He started saying that the pandemic, it's not a real pandemic. So, I mean, when a guy from the government is saying that, and yet the media is still going on about the COVID. Anyway, second renaissance. We're gonna do a second renaissance.
Renaissance, exactly. The one thing I would say, remember, guys, it's a virus. That's all it is. It's a virus.
And we also had to talk about that black guy that got shot in Georgia because there's more information coming in. So we're gonna do a part 2 on that one because there's some shenanigans going on.
That's the media trying to distract you by using that whole, divide and conquer tactic.
That's right. And guess
also,
what?
This black girl, BDA, that the cops, they misidentified a house and they did a raid and they went into the wrong house and the boyfriend took a shot because the cops didn't say who they were. Yeah, and they fired like 20-something shots. Yeah, and killed the girl.
Listen, that's not a good move to shoot at the cops, but that was a big mistake and they should lose their jobs. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask. It's not the first time that I've read about this. I've read other...
Look, I don't want to be a... Listen, first of all, I would never be a cop. I'm not qualified, and if by my own choice, I would never do it. It's a good gesture for a community. There's nothing wrong with it. But here's the thing. Me personally, if I kill somebody by accident, even if it was truly a mistake on my part, I don't want to be a cop no more. That should be a automatic for you as a human being. That means that I'm not... I caused somebody's life that had nothing to do with it. Okay, therefore, you don't need to do an investigation. I'm stepping down. That's it. I'm stepping down. I apologize to the family and do what I could do. But once you make that mistake and you kill somebody by accident, I think that that had nothing to do with the situation. I don't think you should be. I don't think you should be coerced to step down.
Are we on or what happened?
We're on now. Are we on now?
Yeah. What happened? There was no sound at all. Yeah. I think there was a bit of a short. Can you guys hear us now in the chat? Sound when you're back on. All right. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I dropped off for about 2. Okay, Recognize. Can you hear me? Hold on a second. Recognize says he can't hear me. All right. Can you guys hear me back now?
I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, something happened. The audio went back out. The audio went out, but the people are saying you're back. Recognize. Can you hear me?
Must have been the government.
All right. Hold on a second. I'm gonna tell Recognize. Yeah, must have been the government. Yeah, that's what people are saying. Come back in. Anyway, listen. I wanted to. I think we're gonna end it anyways, but because now we're talking unboxing here. But that's what Ernie Wiley said. That's what you get for calling it the pandemic. We can hear you. People are saying you're back. Okay, so yeah. But listen, I want to do an episode also on what's going to happen after the pandemic, because there seems to be, some people don't know. Some fighters don't want to fight behind closed doors. Bob Arum is saying that there's definitely going to be pay cuts for certain fighters, and that if they don't want to take the pay cut, it's on to the next fighter. So he's willing to cut the pay. Certain fighters, maybe they want to go over to Saudi Arabia for the right price. All right, Recognize, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. You were talking. I had to drop off, and I was listening on the phone, and then I saw the connection went off. I don't know. Maybe you were saying something about cops or something. I said maybe that was it.
And again, I'm not anti-cops. I'm anti-dirty cops, but not cops.
Absolutely. Yeah, but bursting into people's houses when not announcing themselves, identifying themselves, that's like, how can they forget to do that? I've heard other stories where SWAT people do that too. They burst into a house and they don't even announce themselves, and then people take a shot at them and they shoot back. So I was like, the fuck are you doing, man? I thought they were trained for that type of stuff. And
they got the wrong address too. That's a big one.
No. What happened was, I read into it. So what happened was there was a fugitive. This is the tricky part.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fugitive that was already caught, but there was a warrant out on his arrest. Now, what could have happened was that the fugitive got caught on something else. This could happen, okay? So the fugitive, that address was given to them. I don't know if they knew who this guy was. Even if they knew him, that doesn't mean that they're involved with anything, right? They just somebody could have dropped a dime and said, an informant could have said, look, I've seen them with those people. And anyway, the guy was already in jail. So when they went to go do a raid, they went to that apartment, because that's the apartment that was given to them. And it doesn't matter, even if it was, you kill somebody that had nothing to do with it. And at that point, I wouldn't want to even be a cop after that.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, you kill somebody that way. I mean, I don't know, man. It seems strange to me that when these guys kill somebody and they go, oh, well, listen, hey, they justify it as in, hey, I was just doing my job. It's like, if you don't feel anything at all, then that's I wouldn't want to go to a party with you. Let's just put it that way. Now, in regards to boxing, guys, I think we're gonna call it a night. It was a good show. We covered the potential Spence versus Spence Garcia fight. Jeez. Also, next episode I want to talk a little bit about the potential Lomachenko versus Lopez fight. I also got a couple of other news that we can talk about that we didn't cover in this episode. We also have to finish the Hall of Fame episodes. We still have a lot of names available, and we also have to continue the Hall of Fame and who will stay and who will go in 2 years.
We should do a Hall of Shame too.
Yeah, why not, man? Fuck it, Hall of Shame.
Hall of Shame.
Hall of Shame. Yeah, I'm already thinking of a couple of names, so we could definitely do that, man, for sure. And also the
BDA, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
When you said regarding Paulie Malignaggi that you like how he commentates, what do you think about Sergio Mora? Be honest.
He seems to toe the line. Ex-boxer. Yeah. He seems to toe the line a little bit too much, the company line. It's like some of these guys, it seems like they're grateful to be given the opportunity to commentate. So he tends to be a little bit biased towards Canelo.
I think he's got a little bit, obviously the experience, he's got a lot of good insight as far as the technical point of views that he brings.
Yeah, because like Malignaggi, he was a light punching guy. He had to get by on his ring IQ. And so most of the time, those type of guys can break down the fight as it's going on. Malignaggi. Roy Jones was the exception. He was talented, skilled, and he could... Was that?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I never thought about it because he wasn't a big puncher. Tactically wise, yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So
I thought he had good insight, but
he had good insight, Roy Jones and Mora. Listen, I like most of these guys. Mora, I like Timothy Bradley, even Andrew Ward to a certain extent, which I don't like him outside of the ring. But when they talk boxing, and it's Bernard Hopkins was one guy that you would have thought was going to do well, but his speech is just all over the place. I mean, he needs to have some sort of, he needs to practice how to be in broadcasting, get some speech lessons or something, because he was really struggling out there. Then again, even then, he came up with some very good points himself. So, I mean, I like.
What we got to talk about?
What's that?
This myth that Lomachenko is ducking Lopez.
Yeah, I don't know who people are coming up with that in the comment section.
Yeah, there's quite a few people. I'm like, are you not paying attention or you don't care?
Or you're being, they're not being truthful.
If there's anybody who's like trying to talk their way out of the fight, I don't think he is, but he's like a little frustrated because he's young. It's Teofimo. He's the one that's giving the excuses. I'm getting too heavy. He better not make me wait too long. I'm growing out of the weight class. It's like, dude, there's a pandemic. Nobody's fighting. You guys were scheduled to fight in May.
Mm-hmm.
Then the pandemic happened. It's like there's a lot of people taking this opportunity to pump out a fake narrative. That's all it is.
That franchise belt was bad juju though, because when he got it, I don't know. People were talking about he got it and he gave the real one away. That seemed kind of like he was ducking people.
Well, I mean, they try to use that for the Devin Haney thing, but you got to take this in consideration. When Devin Haney became the number one contender with the WBC rules, he had to a certain time. I think he could have waited to a year to fight Devin Haney, his number one mandatory. Okay, if he wanted to. So I think the franchise thing was like a little political move, maybe a little inside agreement. Like, hey, look, let this belt go. We'll give you the franchise tag, and if Haney's still the champion or whoever, maybe his resume will grow. We fight him later on down the line because we want to go for undisputed. We want to fight
or simply also just the fact that nobody knew nothing about it. He could have just been confused. All right, give me that one. But in the end, it's like we were like, what the hell is this shit?
Fucking Lomachenko is getting accused of ducking something that he hasn't shown to do. Like, who has he ducked?
Yeah, the only one that they'll talk about Mikey Garcia. Oh, he ducked Mikey Garcia. The Lomachenko here's the thing about people that dislike a person or a fighter. No matter what that fighter does, it's not gonna change the person's the hater, if you want to call it, the hater's perspective. Everything the fighter does, there's gonna be a counterpoint to that. Case in point, Nicholas Walters. People were saying it was a 50-50 fight. He clowns Walters in there. Oh, well, all of a sudden, Walters was off for a year. Yeah, but even if you're off for a year, how many people could have done to Walters what the same way Lomachenko did? You know what I mean? It's like, come on.
Nobody at the time.
Exactly. And now people are saying, oh, hey, Lomachenko's ducking Tank Davis. Okay, that one, if you want to say, I don't believe it, but if you want to say it, okay. But then when they start saying he's ducking Devin Haney, what the fuck has Devin Haney done to show you that he can step in there with Lomachenko and beat him? Hey, maybe be competitive. Okay, I can buy that. But to say that Lomachenko is shaking his undies because of
I think all that stuff is clout chasing on Devin Haney's part and certain other boxers when they mention that, oh, he didn't want to fight me. They don't bring out the whole story, so it's basically clout chasing. I mean, Lomachenko's already proven himself, and he's about to fight for undisputed at lightweight. So case closed if you look at it from that perspective. Fans are going to be who they are. Lomachenko will fight Lopez, and if this pandemic didn't happen, we'd be getting ready for them to have they would have probably had the fight, or the fight's coming up next. Him and Lopez. So it's like, really, that's just nitpicking.
Hey, remember when you used to say Lomachenko? How did you used to say that? Recognize Lomachenko?
Oh, one guy used to be like, Lomachenko. I'm like, who the fuck is that?
What Lomachenko? Oh, by the way,
who is that? Like, I heard of Lomachenko. I never heard of no Lomachenko.
I like how when the people that dislike Lomachenko, and they call him Lomachenka, and I'm thinking, that's the best. I mean, it makes me laugh, but it's also ridiculous. Like, that's the best you got. Just add an A there.
I think that's how they say it in his native country. I'm not sure, but I think I've heard them say they call him Lomachenka.
Right. Yeah, you told me that, and I think we checked that out. And I think in Russian it sounds Lomachenka, but in Ukrainian it's not Lomachenko. Yeah. So listen, when people say, "Oh, Lomachenko's ducking," listen, and even if he beats Teofimo Lopez, how much credit are we gonna give Lomachenko? Because he's beating up a guy that's 22 years old.
23-year-old young man who doesn't have the experience that Lomachenko has as an amateur or pro, right? I mean, that just comes with that just comes naturally with being older. But then on top of that, when you're older and you've had way more boxing experience, he can't really. The only credit he'll get is that he's undisputed at a third weight. Well, not that he won in every weight. Well, he was undisputed in every weight class. He goes to a third weight class and he racks up all the belts. Like that's what's going to be impressive about it. But in terms of beating, if he beats Teofimo, which I think he will, he's not. After the fight's over, everybody's going to look at it for what it is, and they're going to say, "Look, he beat him. He beat a guy who was, pretty young and green, and he did what we expected."
That's right. And Tank Davis so far hasn't done anything at lightweight to warrant. I mean, I think by virtue of his skills, he deserves. I think Loma and him would make for a good fight. But if we're talking resume at lightweight, he hasn't really done much. So Lomachenko's in a bit of a hard place for the critics because no matter what he does, there's not that many options for him out there anyway. Unless some people want to see him go up to 140, which would be way too much. He should be fighting at 130 right now too. So that's my thing.
But those wins might gain traction, BDA, like as time goes by. If those guys that he beats start winning and become champions again, like Teofimo Lopez, and he becomes like a really, really good fighter, it's going to gain traction.
See, I don't do that, though. I don't do that. Like, I don't give...
Yeah, me either. I agree. Like, Floyd Mayweather getting credit for what Canelo is doing now. It's stupid.
Yeah.
What you do is you say, Floyd versus Canelo, what did Canelo do before the Floyd fight? That's how you judge it properly. You don't say after what a guy did, okay? I'm not saying you totally dismiss it, but you're being, you're kind of like playing it both ways. So it's a better win because the guy did better things as he came along. So did you fight him again? No. Okay, then. So how much credit do you want for that fight?
Exactly. Like what did Canelo do up to the Mayweather fight? Okay, he had 40-something fights. 2 of them were
beat Austin Trout.
He beat Austin Trout, and it was still a close fight. And I'll give Mayweather credit that Trout couldn't do what Mayweather did to Canelo. But even then, it's a 23-year-old Canelo who only had one good win, which was against Trout. What were the other wins? Undersized Matthew Hatton, undersized Josecito Lopez.
Absolutely. All these undersized guys and these guys that are not at that level. So, like, I get it. Like, obviously, he beat a guy who had potentials, but at the time, nobody picked Canelo to win that fucking fight. Bro.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I do remember there were certain people out there that were saying, "Oh yeah, Canelo's going to beat him," but I get your point. It was like Mayweather was the favorite, and again, I give Mayweather credit for doing what he did. I'm just not gonna. Yeah. I'm just not. I'm not gonna add points every time Canelo does something. So, Mayweather beat him because let's face it, he did not beat a 28-year-old Canelo Alvarez.
You see, like if Lomachenko goes in there, beats Lopez, and he does it in an impressive fashion, right? Let's say he beats him all 12 rounds or most of it, or he stops him late. I'll give him his credit, but if Lopez goes from that loss and goes on to do really good things, I'm not gonna say, well, Lomachenko beat that guy. Right. He could try to run it back after he does that, and then if he wins again, then we give him credit for that. But you don't give a guy credit for what the guy did afterwards. You give him credit for what he did at that moment.
Exactly. And you can bank on it right now. Hey, if Loma beats Teofimo easy, we're gonna give him some sort of credit, and we want to hear the people that were saying, Lopez is gonna knock him out. Lomachenko is scared of Lopez. We want to hear those guys admit that they were wrong, but at the same time, we're not gonna start going, Lomachenko is the best. He's this great. We already say, first of all, he's a great fighter, and perhaps number 1 pound for pound. If you want to say top 3 pound for pound, or in the top 3, fine. I'm not gonna argue. But the point is, he is that good. So we're already telling you he should be beating Teofimo Lopez. I don't know if it's going to be there's going to be some rocky moments, if he's going to get hurt during the fight, but I suspect he's going to win. And I'm not going to give him all that much credit for beating Teofimo Lopez if Teofimo Lopez ends up doing more great things down the line. Because the
Right.
fact is,
If Teofimo comes back, wins a belt at one. Let's say he loses that fight, and he comes back and he wins a fight at 135, wins a belt, and let's say he moves up to 140, wins a belt. And he's doing it in impressive fashion. He's becoming a star. I'm gonna say, well, look, Lomachenko didn't really beat that guy. He beat the guy that Lomachenko's the guy that probably taught him a lesson and made him go to the next level. Now beat that guy that went to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Then I give you credit for that. Okay,
exactly.
It's just common sense. It's a way to prop up a fighter and to also to use that against another fighter. You know what I'm saying? If you're a Mayweather hater, you can always say, well, Canelo was green, so you ain't beat that the top guy. If you're a Mayweather lover, of course you're gonna say, well, he's the only one that beat Canelo, and look what Canelo did. He knocked out Kovalev. He beat Triple G, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But Mayweather didn't go in the ring with that guy though.
There's a lot of pressure also for Lomachenko because they can also flip it and say if you're a Lomachenko hater, he got beat and exposed. He was never that good. Lomachenko wasn't. There's a lot of pressure too on his side.
Those people have fucking head injuries. Lomachenko's fucking unbelievable. Fucking kidding me? 13-1 in championship fights in his first 15 fights. I mean, that's insane. I mean, go to world fucking guys in the Hall of Fame. Don't scratch those kind of numbers. It's insane. And there's nobody fighting anybody. An opponent's tougher right now for them than Teofimo Lopez. What has Giovanni done even close to fighting someone at the level of Teofimo Lopez is? Punching power, speed, right? You know what I mean? So anybody saying he's done, listen, Giovanni, all you could do is just ask him, put a microphone in his face, and ask him, try to even catch him using a name, a word that begins with the letter L. Never mind, and he does say, maybe next year. I mean, he's been saying it year after year.
Exactly.
First, the thing was just. But I think now, even the way he says it, there's no confidence coming out of his voice when he talks about it. Because he knows it would have been a fucking boxing lesson.
Who are you referring to, Giovanni?
Gervonta.
Oh, Gervonta.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because I thought you were saying Giovanni.
Gervonta.
He looks like a Giovanni.
He's been saying that like for many months, but I like how it sounds.
It's Gervonta, right? Is it? They call him Tay.
It's actually Gervonta.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, Gervonta with two A's. Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck off.
Giovanni sounds like the type of
Giovanni.
Giovanni sounds like the name of a. Was that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say. What the fuck?
Go ahead.
All right, I was just gonna say real quick. Giovanni sounds like the type of name of a guy who sells you coke in a fucking nightclub bathroom. Anyway. All right, sorry.
At the Limelight, right in Manhattan.
That's right. Yeah.
No, to Jimmy's point, right? Fuck. Okay, to Jimmy's point, people don't give credit to Loma, and they want to give credit to guys like Floyd Mayweather, and well deserved. These kind of fights are risky. These young, upcoming fighters that really haven't proven themselves, but they got potentials. Okay, they got some potential. So, like at the same time, okay, you're not going to give them credit, so don't give them credit now. All right, if you was one of those guys that thought Canelo was going to beat Mayweather, then you have to tip your hat off to Mayweather. The same thing will be said if Lomachenko beats Teofimo, okay? Because you have to. If you think this is the problem with a lot of these haters, and it's on both sides, but I see it mainly towards like guys like Lomachenko and stuff like that, where you have a guy beating him going in, but then he beats him and you give him no credit. You gotta at the very least say, well, he's better than I thought. Okay, he is better than going into that fight. I thought he was going to lose. All right, so that's one thing. And another, Teofimo's a dangerous fight because he has everything to lose in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Teofimo shows up his best, and he's a rising star, and he beats Lomachenko. You got to give Lomachenko credit for taking that fucking risk and giving you as a boxing fan, even though you're a fucking hater, the opportunity to be happy, I'm kind of happy that Deontay Wilder underestimated Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? Because he got his ass beat.
Now you make a good point, man. What's that?
Right, but at the same time, I give because Wilder did, he did step in that ring.
That's right.
He did, and he gave us the opportunity to make jokes. For me, it's making jokes on his fans. I'm more concerned of like fucking with his fans. It's all in good spirit. I mean, if you believe that, but
it's like the guy that bullies somebody at high school and he goes, "Why? We're just having fun."
I was just playing. I was just trying to toughen you up. That's all.
That's right. Yeah. But no, listen. You make a good point. People are always Lopez can go in there and give him a tough fight, and it's to his credit. Lomachenko is going to
pull it off. What if he pulls it off, man? Like, you gotta have some morals, man. If he pulls it off, and you're a Lomachenko hater, you gotta thank Lomachenko at the same time. Like, yo, thank you for giving me the opportunity, even if it's just to fuck with his fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a part of that. There's a part of me that thanks that I would thank Wilder in my head. Like, thank you for stepping in there again with him. And getting your ass beat up. Like, yeah, I appreciate that shit, bro.
But look, it's the thing with certain boxing fans. Well, sometimes they're not even real boxing fans. They'll call everybody, like I said, bum. This guy's a bum. That guy's a bum. I don't give this guy any credit. Blah blah blah. You need to have some context when it comes to boxing and stop looking at these guys as if they're bums. And there's only for a lot of these guys, there's only two classes of fighters: bums and all-time greats. That's it. And I'm thinking, well, what do you think? There's levels to this game. Like, for example, Danny Garcia. He's a small level below, what's his name? Porter and Thurman. Those two guys are a little bit of a level below, I would say, a guy like Spence. But you say you have to keep it in perspective. Like, people always say, well, Luke Campbell lost to Lomachenko. Lomachenko beat Luke Campbell. Who did Campbell beat? Blah, blah, blah. So you don't know the guys he beat. It's just because, and some people they say that argument. Oh, well, I never heard of the guys he beat. Okay, then that's your problem. How's that? How
that's
the
your
fuck is
problem.
that my
You
problem?
don't follow boxing.
Exactly.
You don't follow boxing.
How the fuck is that my problem? But
yeah.
See, that's why I sometimes
Look, I'm a realist. Like, I don't know every division, every name. But if you're willing to give me the homework and say where this guy was, I take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Because we could all learn something. Look, man, I'm a very busy man. I don't have time to be following every boxer. I just don't.
Exactly.
But that's not. So I'm willing to listen to you or anybody that does and say, hey, that guy this is what he did on his way there. I'm not going to just totally dismiss and say, oh, that guy's a nobody because I never heard of him.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, that's so much. That's like really black and white thinking. There's got to be a gray area. The world doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
All or nothing.
And again, some people take this fucking boxing thing seriously. So, oh, my guy, they'll talk that way, my guy. And if they lose, if they debate somebody and that's why we're trying to start this kumite thing where, okay, it's going to be a harsh debate. Maybe people are going to get a little bit heated. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a form of, it's an art form. Debating is an art form. And that's what we're trying to.
Kumite, BDA. Kumite.
Oh, yeah, the kumite.
Yeah,
Thank you. I was saying kumite. Like
hey, Brotherhood, if you're listening, stop ducking me, son.
That's right, Brotherhood. If you're listening, recognize calling you on, man.
Don't duck me, son. Don't duck me.
Anyway, listen, guys.
I was always like bewildered, like how they started naming Wilder like their king.
Yeah, that was bizarre. That was bizarre.
Bizarre, yeah.
Our king, how you gonna do that to our king? It's like, wait, what? You're king. That's who you look up to. A heavyweight boxer. That's your king. That's your inspiration in life. Not somebody that sacrifices for everybody else. Not somebody that helps out people when they don't have anything to give back to him, but he does it out of the goodness of his heart. Not somebody that stands up for the truth. No, a guy that punches other people on the head for a living. Listen, I love boxers as much as the next guy. I have tremendous respect for them, but don't think for a second that I look up to these guys as inspiration for how to lead my life. I respect their discipline. I respect the fact that they're willing to get in there. But trust me, athletes are not exactly the people that I hold on a pedestal. I don't do that.
Yeah, these are very. Remember, in a lot of levels, I think even guys that we cheer for, guys like Pacquiao, Lomachenko, guys like that, on a very different level. These guys are very arrogant people. You got to understand what they do for a living. If you don't understand that, then there's something wrong with you. So just because I like their style doesn't mean that I like everything about them. They can conduct themselves well, but when you're a fighter and you put your put your fucking dick on the line, no homo, you're an arrogant motherfucker. That's what you are. You are an arrogant dude. Think about it. You fight in front of thousands of fans, millions of people watching, and you saying, I'm strong enough to beat your ass in front of everybody. That there's a level of arrogance that comes in there. So don't put your fucking, all your eggs in one basket for this guy, thinking that he's like this perfect person, because he's gonna disappoint you.
Exactly.
He'll disappoint you one day.
I wanted to say that because I want to make something clear here. Because you guys, listen, when I say don't look up to other people, I'm not saying, what I'm trying to say is you can admire somebody's qualities, but I'm saying don't fucking put them on a pedestal. Same thing I tell you with women. Don't put women on a pedestal. Don't think that they're these Madonnas that are going to save you from yourself or whatever. Same thing with fighters. Because like Reckon I said, people end up disappointing you. What I'm saying is always look for the good in people, but don't put them on a pedestal, because there's nobody that deserves to be on a pedestal. And I'm not saying this like, I'm better than these guys. Because when I interview fighters, you guys can tell I get very giddy. I respect fighters, and I'm always interested in asking these guys questions because I look up to their courage for stepping in the ring. But like Reckon I said, a lot of these guys also, they're very arrogant. Like Bernard Hopkins has a certain amount of arrogance. That's why he was able to succeed as a fighter for so long, because he has that arrogance of saying, listen, I'm going to fight on, even though I'm in my 40s, because I believe in myself, fuck everybody else. There's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. And a lot of these guys straddle that line pretty, temerariously. So what I'm trying to say is don't look up to these fighters as if they're gods, but do admire their qualities. And that's what I say about everybody.
Exactly. Remember what fighting is really for. It's to protect yourself. Okay? Now think about this. Outside of that, you're pretty much a combative person. Now you're doing it for millions of dollars. You're doing it in front of the world to see. Bro, there's a level of arrogance these men have. They do. And I'm not saying that they're bad people because of it. What I'm saying is, don't ever think that these people are the saints that you think they are. Okay? They're not. They got talent, and they're doing it for money. That's arrogance, bro. That's some what's the word you like to use? Moxie. That's
Hey, BDA, it doesn't also the Bible say that the heart is treacherous by nature? So when they do disappoint, people are gonna throw them under the bus.
Exactly. That's why.
Fuck that guy.
That's why with Mayweather, when Mayweather said, "Hey, I thought Wilder lost the first Fury fight," and these people from the LD, they start calling him like a traitor and all these racial words for somebody that turns on their race. I'm thinking, see, these people put these fighters on a pedestal, and they, hey, you gotta agree, you gotta toe the party line, you gotta always support your race. Why?
They're the real. To me, those are the real coons, right? Like you're telling me that somebody can't have an outside opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the coon, me or you?
Well, it's always been dumb to me when people, when people support. Oh, this guy's Mexican. You got to support the Mexican. What if he's an asshole and he does more harm than good for the whole race? You know what I mean? It's like
what if he's a fucking rapist, murderer?
Exactly.
Am I supposed to still fucking cheer for this dude?
Nah, that's to me, it's one of the lowest forms of humanity. When you start just rooting for somebody because they look like you. And people say, hey, don't you do the same thing? Like when you see a Mexican, don't you support the Mexican? I'm telling you straight the fuck up. No, I don't like Canelo. I don't like he beat up a midget in what was his name? Archie Solis. Solis, yeah. Well, allegedly. I have to say allegedly. Also,
I talked to him. He's cool.
No kidding.
Yeah, we could get him on, but
he beat him up in a bar, right, Gonzalo? Did he beat him up in a bar?
I think it was at the beach.
Back home in Guadalajara. I don't recall where.
Was it at the beach or at a golf course? I think. No, I'm serious. I think it was at a golf course. It was like something out of the movie Caddyshack. But anyway, the point is.
I don't know. Who knows what happened? Maybe he said something stupid to her. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, these guys are arrogant. You think Canelo is is naive and well grounded. No, he's an arrogant motherfucker.
To a
So is
certain
Triple
extent,
G.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure Triple G, like he has this complex that I'm more superior to you. You know, like
Canelo's
we have to
brother-
fight, I'll break your fucking neck. Like he has that attitude.
Canelo's brother murdered some guy back in Guadalajara also.
Whoa.
One of the other guys, yeah. But they kind of like swept it under the rug. And one of the other brothers, he's really like arrogant with like the police. I saw a video where he got pulled over and he's like, "Oh, you don't know who my brother is?" And stuff like that. Yeah. Because they got money.
Listen, if I had a brother, especially if it's my younger brother, you can bet your ass I'm not gonna use his name to try to get out of something. Hey, you know who especially if you're not even saying, "Hey, look, officer, you know who my brother is? You know, maybe we could work something." No, it's not even that. It's, do you know who my brother is? Can you fucking believe that? Oh, that's cringe, man. That's fucking cringe. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah, I hate people like that. You know who I don't give a fuck with you.
You know who my brother is? Oh my god.
You know who my brother is? Fuck you and your brother. How about that?
By the way, SSB in the chat room says, "Do you think AJ is not arrogant?" Oh, absolutely. He's another arrogant guy. I mean,
AJ?
look, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Come on. That's probably one of the most arrogant motherfuckers. I mean, works out like a beast. The fucking little pretty boy. He's got money. He's got all this shit going on. Yeah, he's an arrogant motherfucker. Of course he is.
Look, if I were walking around 6'6", fucking slinging dick all over the place, I would be arrogant too, especially if I'm in my 20s. Now in my 30s, and after reading a lot of the Bible, obviously things change. But the point is, like Reagan was trying to point out to people there, these guys step in there in the ring, especially the guys that make it to the world level. They make it there because they're crazy to a certain extent. And crazy, call it arrogance, whatever. But these guys they don't have the same mentality as you and I, for the most part. And so you have to expect a little bit of crazy behavior from them. So that's what I'm saying with Errol Spence. I'm not saying he's a bad person necessarily, although his stupid actions with the whole drinking and driving thing could have cost somebody their lives. That was fucking stupid. But I'm not going to stand here and hate the guy. Hate is a strong word.
As much as Teofimo sometimes will do things and I'd be like, this kid is just asking for trouble. It wouldn't be wise to ever step to Teofimo. It wouldn't be a good idea. You better be ready. That kid is always ready to punch, and he could do it for a very long time. And I think people sometimes, they'll look at a guy like, oh, he talks shit. He can't back it up. No, he'll back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're a non-boxer, not in the kind of shape he's in, the likelihood of who's going to the hospital would be you. Going to the hospital after that fight.
Reminds me of a conversation I had. There was a conversation we had, rather, on the boxing message board about, I want to say 12, 13 years ago. This guy who had been in the Marines, this black guy, and he came into the message board. It was a small message board, so when somebody new came in and they started being very vociferous or vocal, rather, not vociferous. They were very vocal and very arrogant. We took notice right away. So this guy came in like he was a bit of a know-it-all. And then we were having a conversation about Joe Calzaghe. And this guy said, "Oh, I could beat Calzaghe in a street fight." People were saying, "Listen, no, you couldn't." So because he'd shown us pictures of himself, and okay, he wasn't a tall guy, but you could tell he was built. He did his push-ups and all that. But he was saying, "Oh no, I would have a good chance of beating Calzaghe in a street fight." And people were saying, "Yo, Calzaghe," and remember, this was when Calzaghe was active. People were saying, "How are you going to beat him?" And he goes, "Well, he's a good boxer, but that doesn't mean he knows how to fight on the ground. I would take him down." And somebody goes, "Listen, Calzaghe is a trained athlete right now. He's in great shape. He would most likely, he would light you up before you could even get to his legs." And the guy was like, "No, I could take him down." Anyway, the conversation went on for a whole bunch of posts. And I don't doubt that if you're a good grappler, you could beat a boxer. But before you start thinking about beating up a boxer, you better think about how you're going to take him down and if you can. Because most of these guys, like I said, they got a lot of very good cardio. They're tough, and they're probably more stronger than you think. Just because they don't look like MMA guys, that doesn't mean they can't fucking push you off of them. So I don't know. It seemed like a stupid conversation about that guy was being so sure that he could take Calzaghe down before Calzaghe could get
fighting is situational, man. In a street fight, fighting is very situational. I've learned throughout the years because I've gone to a lot of fights. I worked as a bouncer, and all that type of stuff. And I'm not saying that my my ideas of things are better than yours. No, I'm not saying. But the one thing I situation can play a big part. The one thing that I learned was when having the higher the moral grounds works big time. You put the pressure on the guy. You don't put the pressure on yourself. You stand your ground. You let them know whatever it is. Like, look, I don't want no problems, but I'm not gonna be a punk. And you let that person if that person. I'm not saying let him punch you, but let him make the first aggressive move and then fight off there. If you know how to fight, there's a good chance you can win. But if you try to fight a pro at what he does, he's a pro at that. He's used to fighting in front of crowds. He's gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, a boxer can counter you. Counter you with the straight or not, bro. I remember when Randy Couture he brought James Tunney to the ground. That was an experienced Randy Couture. He did like an ankle pick on him where he got it on his side, and he didn't approach him. He didn't like rush in or spear him. He did like a weird ankle pick on the side to bring him down. It's not just I'm just gonna go in there and take you down.
He said after the fight, he said that the plan was to go for a very, very, very low takedown. So, because of the stance that James Toney had, he didn't have that Muay Thai stance. It was more of a boxer's side stance, so it's easier to take him down apparently. But to recognize his point about the street fights, absolutely, man. You gotta know your surroundings. Now, we've talked about that before on the podcast. Just because a boxer is a boxer doesn't necessarily mean that he's a good street fighter, because again, a street fight is a whole different thing than fight. See, that's the thing. When people call a boxing a fight, it's not, okay, yes, it is a fight because guys are punching each other, but it's not a real fight where it's controlled violence. There's a referee, there's rules, there's gloves, there's protection. In the street, there's no protection, there's no referee. If there's nobody around, if the guy takes you down and knocks you out, he might not stop. You know what I mean? He might continue bashing your head.
Shannon Briggs for the football player. Okay.
Oh, I heard you say that. Yeah.
In Miami, and this was like many years ago, maybe like over 10 years ago, or something like that. He got beat up, and the reason why he got beat up was because and Shannon Briggs will fuck most people up, most regular ordinary guys on the streets. He'll beat them up, even if you're strong and built, and maybe even his size. But what he didn't understand, well, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to say he didn't understand. He just got into a fight with a guy who's strong. He's a trained athlete. He's a strong guy. And what I'm going to guess happened and what I heard happened was he used his strength against Shannon Briggs, and he overwhelmed him quickly. Not like it was quick. And he took him out.
So what did the guy do? Did he kick a football in his face? Or?
I think he picked him up. They started grappling. He picked him up, threw him against the wall. And when he hit the wall, he hit his head, and then from there just started pounding him up.
Jeez, Luis. Yeah, imagine being able to pick up. I mean, I know wrestlers can do it relatively easily.
He was a bigger man. He was a bigger man than by a lot. He was a much bigger man.
Fuck. Yeah, that's scary, man. Fucking bigger than Shannon Briggs, who's not a small dude, man. Jeez, Luis.
Yeah, exactly.
See, but that's why, when I'm in the street, doesn't matter if the guy's 6'5", 7'11", whatever, man. I do the dreaded dick pull. Oh yeah, you bet I'm gonna pull that dick, man. Yank it as hard as I can. Try to fucking really unlock it, and nobody messes with me that way. I got a good success rate with that. It doesn't really work with women because they don't get a dick, but there's other ways around that. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Back in the day in TJ and junior high, because I also went to school in Mexico, and like when I was an adolescent, when the fights would go to the ground, you would allow the other guy to get up, but I guess it doesn't work like that now. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Especially if there's like a real threat on your life, that nobody's going to let you get up.
Yeah, you got to watch out.
At least that's how it was before, like the culture.
Absolutely,
man. Especially as you get older, man. Like now, fuck that. I could be wrestling around on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Fighting for a French fry.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Seriously, hey guys, listen, ready? Seriously, you know what I mean? At that age, at this point, it's like this, ready?
Listen,
fuck that.
I'm a older man, almost 50 years old. I'll admit, I don't have the energy to be like meeting up with you and getting into a macho, a false bravado kind of fight. What I'm good at still is protecting myself. I will never give that away, right? So the only way we're going to fight is like this. If you see me, you attack me. I feel comfortable from there. But for me to go meet you and fight you, bro, I probably don't have the energy anymore to do that. When I was younger, yeah, you would have did this to me 15, 20 years ago. Oh, yeah, definitely. I could do that. But now
plus
at 47, I can't do that no more.
But plus now we live in such a wicked world that you never know. People carry guns. Like they say, the heroes are in the cemetery and the brave people.
Yeah.
The brave people are dead. The cowards are the ones that are living because
That's a good point.
It's a wicked world, man.
It's a good point. That's why the people the real psychos that get into those type of situations and they want to get into those type of situations, those are the guys that scare me, man, because I remember I'm rewatching The Wire and there's a part where the guy goes, Marlo. Remember that guy, the crazy guy from season 3 onwards?
Yeah.
And yeah, Marlo Stanfield. And they shut up his truck, and he goes, an old guy goes, they're not gonna stop going at you, and he goes, I don't want it to stop, and then
exactly,
and then the old guy goes, the people that wore the crown, meaning the people who ran the streets, they're either in the prison or in the cemetery, and the guy goes, yeah, well, the point is they wore the crown. Now it's my time. So there's people out there that...
You want to know something? This is why I like that character, because I could identify to what he means, not necessarily in that kind of way. When you're younger, you don't care about those things. It's like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Okay? I want to be one of those guys, even if it's used to wear the crown. I want that moment. But when you're trying to fight a guy at that level, okay, and you're not living your life at that level, okay, you're behind the 8 ball. But if you keep things in perspective and you understand where this man is coming from, so you say, let him make his move. Let it be known. I'm fighting defense. Whatever happens, I'm okay with it. You have a better chance of overcoming that and maybe even beating that person. But if you put yourself my dick versus your dick, and you don't live that life all the time, you're gonna lose. You're gonna drown.
You're gonna get overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're gonna be overwhelmed. Okay, and this I know from experience. It's called experience, man. Being when you get knowledge as you get older. At one point in my life, I was willing to fight anybody for whatever reason. Whatever you want to fight, let's do it. Because I felt that I could beat your ass. There was a level of arrogance. Now, as you get older, you don't have that, so you don't put yourself in that situation.
It reminds me of well, first of all, when you were talking about being overwhelmed, just the adrenaline alone for a lot of people that have never been in a fight. People who have never been in a situation where the adrenaline starts pumping, they don't know the effect that it can have on you. Because again, like you said, overwhelm you. The fight or flight response kicks in. And most guys, instead of running or fighting, they freeze. That's the worst. That's the worst for those guys. So
saying you could beat up Joe Kawasaki is crazy, right? Like, I'm gonna meet Joe Kawasaki and I'm gonna fight him at his game. The guy did this for a living, bro.
Like exactly. Well, that's the reason why a lot of COs, a lot of correctional officers, a lot of police never file their report. They never, file for an injured back or whatever. It's usually a couple of days later, because when in a big rough takedown, you're fighting with some fucking perp on the street and you're fist fighting with them. You don't feel, the sergeant shows up out and says, how you feeling? You all right? Yeah, I'm fine. You're always fine there because their adrenaline's flowing. The good sergeant always asks him 20, 30 minutes later, then all of a sudden you start feeling the back, the slip discs and all the other shit. Because you can really, when you're adrenaline, like you said, to your point, dude, I've seen dudes carry on with fucking stab wounds and major injuries. And then all of a sudden when adrenaline stops, which is good too, because if you cut, you don't want your adrenaline going too hard. But again, I just, at this point, if you're going to actually come and try to put hands on me, I look at it like you're fucking trying to kill me. And that's why I don't know if you guys can, what this sounds like on your end, but listen, ready?
Yeah, exactly.
You understand what that is? Yeah.
Sounds like you're snapping.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Well, that's the crusher for the week.
P365. 10-1.
Oh boy.
Personal. It's a SES anti-snag. I just got it actually 3 days ago. It can put in your front pocket, and it holds 10 9mm, and it fits in your pocket, and it's not.
That's
it's crazy. It's this craziest little gun I've ever.
Let's see if you guys can hear this. Right, I won't show it, but that's why I always make sure this is close by.
Jeez,
That
Louise,
sounds like
man.
a knife.
No, you'll hear it more. Hold on.
Okay, that was.
Don't shoot yourself.
And then you hear this. That's it. I'm ready. I'm ready for action.
Don't shoot yourself on the foot, man. Don't shoot. You guys keep that safety on, man. All right, listen. By the way, everything that these guys are playing, I'm playing sound effects of people cocking guns. And nobody actually has a gun. Just if
Exactly, and that's not, and we need to say that's what.
Well,
Exactly.
They have full channels for YouTube. I've been watching them all day actually because I wanted to see the breakdown. The only thing I don't like about this, I'll be honest, man, I'm really pissed. Is I don't know if you just heard now. It's got the the clip. When you cock the gun back to slide the bullet in, you have the slide right above your thumb. You click it and it slides the slide back unless you slingshot it, which isn't good for the gun. But this the slide it's indented into the gun. It's called the anti-snag. There's no sights. The sights are buried into the gun. There's nothing to snag in your pocket. Actually, it's one of the only handguns made to shoot through your pocket. Like I could have my hand in my. There's no hammer to catch, so I could fire. Just put it in my pocket, start squeezing rounds. Pop, 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 right through my jacket. Yeah, no, it's nasty, dude. It's meant to fire through clothes and purses, in your pocket, in a coat pocket. Just shoot right through your pocket.
Hey, by the way, Triple J
gun. It's not. What's that?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not compliant actually in my state, but that's.
Oh, wait a minute. No. Again, like I said, I was playing sound effects.
It's legal. It's legal. There's nothing stolen about this, man. I got my license.
By the way, Triple JJ in the chat room says. Triple JJ in the chat room says, "Was that recognized opening up a DVD case?" Yeah, I think that's what it was. Exactly. Triple J.
No, that's exactly what that was.
Something
they
he was.
Asked you out, BDA.
Yeah.
Hey, but I wanted to mention something about the because I don't know if you guys know who Don Fry is. Don Fry, he was a
yes.
Yeah,
Don
he was
Fry, the MMA guy.
Yeah, one of the pioneers. The Predator, Don Fry.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the pioneers.
With that mustache.
Exactly, yeah, with that fucking porn star mustache. But he was one of the first guys that mixed striking with grappling in MMA. Because usually it was either grappling or striking. Most guys didn't know how to do both. And he was one of the guys that could box. Okay, he wasn't a great striker, but he was pretty better than most at that time. And now I don't know the context of what happened, but there's a very short clip on the internet of him. He got into an altercation with Dog the Bounty Hunter. He has his team of guys. Yeah, and there was one guy. He was on the show a couple of times. Some Hawaiian dude. I think he used to box, but he wasn't a world-class boxer or anything. But he's a boxing trainer and a bounty hunter. And he's like, he's Hawaiian. He doesn't have a big, a lot of definition, but you can tell he's a stout-looking guy. And again, I don't know the context. I don't know if Don Fry was wasted or whatever. But the clip starts where they start getting into a bit of a shoving match, and then all of a sudden the guy, boom, 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 just starts striking at Don Fry. And Don Fry just doesn't know how to react from the shots, and he just gets dropped. And then people separate them. And then Don Fry gets back up, and he still wants a piece of it, but he got lit up in that exchange. So
in that sequence, yeah.
In that sequence.
They were arresting Don Fry. Was he one of the people they were arresting? He was a fugitive, or?
No. That's a good point. No, yeah, I should clarify. They were at a party or some sort of boxing event or MMA. I'm going to show you the clip. Hold on. Don Fry beat up. Again, guys, I don't know if I can show this on the actual stream. So
I'm sure you could.
Oh, maybe.
It's the Hawaiian guy who was always with Dog. I guess Beth, his wife, she just died of cancer. I just saw that on Twitter the other day.
Oh, yeah, and I think he remarried right away.
Did he really already?
Well, not right away.
Cool yet?
Well, hold on a second. I'm trying to catch the. I'm trying. Yeah, no, I think I don't know if he remarried right away, but he definitely he got married, I think, or he's going out with a woman, a good-looking woman, I think, because people were saying, "Oh, that blonde woman, I do her." I don't know, man. She was a little bit too big for my taste. She had big tits, but other than that, she was a
Beth.
Yeah, she looked like a.
Oh my God! Remember the character on fucking South Park? It was just you didn't see nothing. It was just two big tits and two eye sockets coming through. They were white fucking trash. Dude's a high school dropout, convicted murder, ex-fucking motorcycle. He was a bandino at one time. And he actually ratted on the club. That's the reason why he turned his life to Christ. It's because he turned his back on his brothers.
Yeah,
okay, hold on a second.
Is this the fight right here?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, okay, Virtuoso. Yeah, Virtuoso. I'm gonna call you on the hangout. I mean, on the StreamYard in a little while. But let me play this video for you guys on the Discord. It's a 28-second clip. So if anybody out there wants to watch it at the same time, just write UFC champ versus Dog the Bounty Hunter crew. Now, just for real quick for you guys watching on the Discord, the guy with the cap on the left, that's the boxer guy who's part of Dog the Bounty Hunter's crew. And the guy with the mustache on the right is Don Fry. So he gets, all right, there we go.
He's out.
So I think he was wasted because the way see how he's stumbling around?
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, it's a bad. Whoever filmed it gets a 4 out of 10 for me, man. I mean, that was a badly. There were people blocking the view, whatever. But anyway, watch. Did you guys catch some of that on the Discord or?
I mean, not really. I just heard like.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second.
It seemed like, I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like it was. I don't know. It was all sketchy.
So anyway, the bounty hunter got dropped, right?
No. He dropped the MMA guy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Let me play it to you one last time, because again, it's badly filmed. Okay, the guy with the okay, hold on. I don't know if you guys can see on the Discord. If you see the guy here, I'm pointing with my mouse. The guy here in the middle of these two guys, that's Don Fry. The bounty hunter guy he dropped to the ground, but then he gets up, and that's when he starts lighting the MMA guy up. So here he's gonna see here.
Okay, I got you.
All right, so there you see that's Don Fry stumbling around like a drunk, and the other guy's the one that's punching him. Anyway, you can hear that like the sound of the punches.
I can hear the punches landing, but I don't see them. I can hear the punches landing.
Yeah, the quality is very bad.
Well, that dude who hangs out with Dog, though, the guy with the mustache you're talking about, the stocky dude who's out there, they would take him every now and then on with them to, like, if there was a tough dude they were supposed to get, they would bring that guy. He was his son with the ponytail. It was his boxing coach, but he also has a reputation amongst the, I think Maui there. That's that dude. I guess he's a real, known on the island. There's some tough Hawaiians too. There's some fucking angry dudes.
They're like the Maori. They're like the Maori. They love to fight. And I remember that somebody was telling me, well, it's a stereotype about the Maori loving to fight. Trust me, man. I've heard too many stories from people that say, do not drink with Maori people at a bar if you don't know them.
And the West Coast, the Samoans they got a lot of fucking gangs.
The Maori are the Samoan. They're from Samoan descent. We're from all the same people, but like the BDA saying, they're the Maori warriors. They would do the faces, and fighting was such an intricate part of their culture that they would do it mock fight even in greetings. It's pretty crazy the dances they would have. Is that the same thing you're talking about, BDA?
Well, the Maori, they're the ones that have the haka, I think they call it, or hake, I forget what it's called, that dance. But they got a reputation for, if you drink with those guys in New Zealand, they'll start out nice and everything, but once they get drunk, they're mean drunks. They just want to fight with everybody. And it doesn't matter if they were nice to you before, they will fuck your shit up, apparently. And in Hawaii, too. Hawaii, they got the reputation for being fighters, too, over there. So it's just... Yeah. And by the way, Virtuoso's been waiting here on the StreamYard for a while. Virtuoso, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It's a good thing you brought up those Hawaiians, man. Did you see the clip of Max Holloway? Not Max Holloway. God, I'm blanking out of his name.
The heavyweight guy.
Penn?
No. He was a lightweight, and he fought at Baltimore. I'm trying to remember the name. He got dropped. Penn? I'm sorry.
BJ Penn.
BJ Penn.
He was a
Yeah, BJ Penn.
Yeah.
Yeah. That dude's a fucking. Oh man, that dude's an animal, man. But he doesn't know when to back down, man. It's like I've seen him recently, man. It's like
wasn't there a video of him
retired.
getting jumped or beat up or something? I forgot what.
No,
Yeah,
he was
drunk.
actually he was somebody to hit him, and he got dropped.
Yeah, it could happen, man. Just because you're professional or something, you could get fucked up, in the streets.
But he was sharp one too. After a while, he started getting started getting beaten up at the end of his career. I think that those fights with the French Canadian from Montreal,
St. Pierre,
really that that was wars. He really fucked him up with those knees and shit too. But he was always in wars, like the dude just said. Virtuoso just said.
I was not impressed by your performance. Matt Serra, I'm going to beat you up too. Okay,
Matt Serra.
But BJ Penn is a guy that he started out. I mean, he just fought way beyond. Apparently, he's a wild card too, outside of the ring or the octagon, I should say. He's a bit of a wild guy, so would surprise me to see that.
Yeah.
Most of these guys.
I just wanted to.
Go ahead, Virtuoso.
I just wanted to share my thoughts on the announcement of this. That this negotiation is going on the way between Spence and Garcia Jr. Garcia. My thing is, it's like, what took so long? I felt like this fight could have taken place a couple years ago or last year, say the least. There's several fights there. There's like I've been saying it for a while that this PBC guys in the welterweight division, they're not really taking themselves seriously. They're not fighting each other, and that's why I give Porter a lot of credit. Because he's the guy that stepped up, who finally stepped up to the chosen one. Errol Spence, the truth. But it made it difficult. Made people believe that this guy is not that invincible. Now that he's having surgery on his jaw and having his teeth fixed, the moment of truth is how's he gonna react to punches when he get hits in the mouth? What's his plan? Yeah, and Danny Garcia is not a pushover, man. He's a tough fighter, man. He's got left feet, as usual, but he comes in there to bang, But
that's right. That's the one thing, man. Don't sleep on Garcia.
Yeah. I mean, I was on Ring IQ's stream earlier, and I was saying to myself, you know what? This is a good fight. It's not a tuna fight at all, but I don't think it's worth like $75. It's just like I know PBC is struggling and they got to get their fighters paid, but I just don't see how you build the momentum. And let me just say this. Let me put it to like this. This COVID-19 taught the boxing business a lesson of why you don't marinate fights.
Yeah, well, listen, the Gamboa-Lopez fight from a couple of years back, it should have taught that lesson to Bob Arum. But some of these guys, man, they it's about the money and it's about the ego of, no, we're not going to fight, or my fighter's not going to fight your fighter, or we want the share, the lion's share of the purse. It's like they haven't learned. They haven't learned.
No. They're not a big enough name. You gotta earn that money in the back end. Once you fight, these notable opponents, instead of just coming up with these excuses, what's this like? Who has he fought? It's like nobody cares about that. Just fight the best available, and then build your profile, and then you get your pay-per-view fight. That's the way I look at it. But PBC, for the last 5 years, they've been putting the cart in front of the horse when it comes to pay-per-views, and you just don't build fighters like that. You gotta build exciting fights and build the excitement among your fan bases, to really get them to pay.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen, these fighters and these promoters, they need to get their act together. They look at this as businessmen, but they forget that if you please the fans, business goes up. I don't understand why some of these guys they're thinking inside the box. They need to start thinking outside the box and start making events. I think, and that's why I like Eddie Hearn to a certain degree, because he thinks more outside the box and he's willing to do things differently. Not by that much, but at least he's trying.
Yeah,
listen, guys,
BDA, and he also thinks inside his yard because he's gonna do fights in his yard.
in his yard.
In his father's property, many acres. He's gonna do some shows there.
No kidding. Oh, is he gonna be wearing an apron and barbecuing, or what the fuck?
They're gonna do the setup where they're just gonna bring the fighters and they're gonna go through like quarantine phase and testing. Then they're gonna like have their own locker rooms and they're gonna set up a ring in his father's property. And I think Montero did a video on that.
All right.
Well, he actually did do a video. I watched it. He's gonna do fights in his yard.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sponsored by Bill Gates.
Sponsored by Bill Gates. All right, listen, fellas, we're gonna have to cut this one short. We've been on for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to. All right, want to give a shout out to Virtuoso who dropped in late here. Thank you for your contribution, Virtuoso. Thank you for calling in. Want to give a shout out to Recognize, Jimmy, Gonzalo, Apology Man who was here earlier as well, Revolucion, and Johnny Boy who dropped by as well. Thank you for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like
Thanks
button.
for having me on, BDA.
Absolutely. And don't forget, this week, Second Renaissance. We got two big subjects to talk about. I'm about ready to talk about the big one. So we're gonna get ready for that one. Probably on a Thursday or Friday.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, brother. We'll see you then.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. See you then, man. And Gonzalo too. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room. But first, shout out to G Boogie and Apology Man for their contributions with the super chat, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you for that. You really make the show what it is. The hell? Yeah. And without your contributions, we can't really pay for. I mean, we could. It helps to pay for the fucking the StreamYard. Not the StreamYard. I'm sorry. Block Talk Radio, and I shouldn't be cursing either, by the way. Pays for the screens, pays for the upkeep. So thank you guys for that. Really appreciate it. Everybody else, hit the like button. Spread the BDA gospel. Shout out to SSB28, El Jefe in the house as well. Amok PvP, High Roller, the DSFG Outbox in the house as well. Shout out to those guys. Don't forget to check out El Jefe's channel. He just started again, so shout out to him. What's he saying? Oh, he wanted on the show. Well, listen, next time, call El Jefe. Get yourself what's it called? Discord, or if not, call in, because the StreamYard. I'm not a big fan of the StreamYard. So get yourself a Discord account, or just simply call in, and we'll get you on the show one of these days. High Roller, Pink Panther, Grievous, SSB28, Hawker Mustang. Who else? Joseph 4043, High Roller, Abe Faria. Anybody else? Brandon White was here earlier. El Guapo, Kevin from Chicago, JumpTube, Triple JJJ, Scourge of God, Subash Kunwar, Uncle Burnt Apostrophe, Hulk Hogan, Smile Fart, Jonathan Morrison, Virtuoso in there as well, Official Scorecard Boxing, Sina Masia, Dead Game Boxing, BOKS, and then many more. Emily Wiles. Guys, thank you for joining us. I gotta go. Catch you on the next one. Don't forget to hit that like button. And that's about. What? Hold on a second. I think we got a contribution coming in. No, I thought I saw the thing there light up. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Salute. Have a good night. We'll see you this week again. Either Second Renaissance, some other show. I gotta shut up. Let's go, guys. The fuck out of here.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in everyone. Totally disappointed in everyone.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in everyone.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He's just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lobito! Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.